to episode 8 of Art Brunch Archives. I'm the host of Art Brunch, Rick Bowling. Our guest this week is Aly Camacho. Much of this show works well as audio only, but there are some times where we're referencing images on the screen, so we host these archives in podcast form as well as on YouTube. In the podcast description, I will share the link to the YouTube video and vice versa. Lastly, before we learn about Aly, please take a moment to like and subscribe and rate the podcast. All of that stuff really helps out. Please consider watching the show live with our community on Twitch. That link will be below as well. Aly's bio reads, "Since I was 12 years old, I've always held a camera in my hand. Learning how to use film photography expanded my world, and I was eager to improve my skills in both analog and digital photography. Glitch art photos and videos are also something I've enjoyed making since I was younger that helped me experience creative flow. Outside of photography, I've learned skills in various art mediums to help diversify my perspective and possibly combine photography with another skill such as bookbinding, screen printing, wood cutting, and making plaster molds. Her other hobbies include bubble tea, thrifting, pool, music, dining out, modeling, and skateboarding." Aly shared really intimate details of her life with us on the show. Her openness with her life and her practice indicates the type of person that she is. We feel really fortunate to have had her on the show. Check out the description for ways to connect with Aly. Please look to the points of interest in the timeline and the description to aid in your navigation of the show, and enjoy.
Oh yeah, I use this thing called the pattern.
Oh, the pattern. Okay.
Yeah. We don't have to use it actually
No, we
because it's
should.
like we should. Okay, okay. Well, so I think it like updates daily. I don't know if it's like if it updates daily or every other day.
Uh-huh.
But it says my current pattern is that I have a dynamic that often makes me feel less than whole in many of my relationships. You might feel dedicated to making an exhausting relationship work despite the issues. The situation could be unfulfilling, but it might feel impossible to let go.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because I feel like I often go in like patterns of feeling different things, and so like this app, when it refreshes, it like kind of will have like my feeling for that day particularly.
Hmm.
I've been thinking like that's an interesting thing to bring up because I kind of feel like that all the time with like my parents and my family. Like I'll try to keep up that relationship working with my parents, even though it's like something that we clash a lot and it often doesn't work out. So sometimes it's interesting when it brings stuff up like that. It goes very personal and in depth with things
Did you did you say it
sometimes.
did you say it updates on like a particular cycle or
Yeah, it has its own cycles. It's kind of interesting because like if you go onto your profile for it, it'll have like you might be feeling driven or dissatisfied, sensitive and adaptable.
hmm.
And then it'll tell you how long it's going on for. So like driven
Oh.
or dissatisfied. This is going on for 81 days apparently for me.
Oof.
So you're driven, disciplined, and up for any responsible challenge. You can take on the burden for others and are capable of handling the biggest task. And there's more on there. I won't go super in depth with it, but it's pretty interesting because I definitely feel like that with like lately I haven't been making as much creative work as I have been the past year.
Hmm.
I think I have kind of felt like that I'm either really driven to make work and create, or sometimes I can kind of fall into this slump and not know why. But when the pattern tells me, like, hey, that's what's going on right now,
Yeah.
I'm just like, it is. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think those things can be like this really nice anonymous,
Mm-hmm.
almost like outward source of validation or
Mm-hmm.
even just like something to uh just to like put your experience up against, you know.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to describe like very intricately what is, you know, taking place in your internal state, but it can give you just kind of like this like frame of reference to compare things to, or to kind of like um I don't know, just helps like process, you know, having these like
Yeah.
little monuments, these little landmarks that help us process our experience.
Yeah, for sure. I often like when I read these, I relate to my experiences in my life so I can reflect and see how it helps me analyze like really what's going on in my life and my relationships with other people.
Mm. Yeah, Nakono in the chat says the pandemic slump is real.
Yes,
I've been feeling that.
that too.
I in my own creative practice, right, there was like, okay, so like February happened and we lost our jobs, Tiffany and I. And
Mhm.
then there was like a month where I just like did nothing but just like be like the best lump I could be. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
this is vacation. Who knows
Yes.
what's going on? This is like practically summer vacation for me, which I was really fortunate to be able to feel that way
Yeah.
for sure. But I'm just gonna like be a bum and not do anything. And then that month was up, and I like felt like I should do something. And then I started making work, and I made a lot of work over like the next
Mhm.
month or two. And I was
Mhm.
like, wow, this is so great. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah, but like you can't show your work anywhere, and you can't meet
Mhm.
anybody, and like you can't have studio
Right.
visits. So like what even is the point? And then I just like went into another like super long slump that I just feel like I'm getting out of again. Of just like,
Mhm.
oh, it's so strange with this creative practice in like COVID time.
Yeah.
Because it just like so changes that relationship with
Right.
work. Yeah.
And sometimes it can even just be harder to just get like source or like resources to use,
Mm.
like even just supplies and everything,
Yeah.
or like I can't really use scanning services that I used at my college, even though like I still have access. I graduated. I still have access because since since the pandemic, um, the manager who's currently there said, you know, you didn't really get to have time last semester because we all had mandatory leave. So
Mm.
he's allowing me to at least still use some of the resources there, but it's just kind of harder because school's in session now.
Mm.
So it's been hard for me to scan new images. I've been taking some, which is nice because I haven't been taking them all the time, but like whenever I do, I get so excited because it's like finally get this creative flow back, you know, and throughout these times of like feeling so dissatisfied and not driven, and so like yeah, but I've been kind of making some new work. It's just like a little bit slower, and it's been mostly photos only, which I kind of like to do mixed media things.
Mm-hmm.
But I just haven't had time to, or yeah, I haven't really had time to go out and buy new supplies for like book binding, which I have realized that's like a new passion of mine. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like every
Mhm.
aspect of our lives really have this extra layer of intentionality that is necessary. Um, and if I'm going to be like an internal optimist, like maybe that's a really good thing. Unsuper,
Mhm.
thank you for the follow. Welcome to the travel agency. Good to see you. Yeah, so just like uh there's like this extra layer of intention or like intensity to every like little bit, and the optimist in me like really thinks that this is like a helpful exercise and like exercising our
Yeah.
intentionality, and that we can like take with us in the future. um but also like in the moment it's exhausting, I think. You
Yes.
know, like
Yeah.
I have to go to I buy a lot of stuff from Home Depot for my creative
Mhm.
practice, and like Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, and we're not sponsored by Home Depot here at the travel agency yet, but like going to specifically those two places, I just feel like
Mm-hmm.
people are like way too close to me, or people are like hanging masks off their face, or
Yeah.
just like doing things differently than I want them to be doing. So I haven't even like gone there, or I have to put in
Mhm.
this, this kind of order, this like weird ordering system that they do where you can do pickups. Run Moses in the chat says, "Yay, I made it! Go Ally."
Woo! Hi.
Um, but yeah, then it's just like it's just all of these things. But hopefully
Yeah.
that can make us a little bit stronger in
Mm.
times where we don't have this extra intentionality looming over us.
Yeah. I mean, I even just went to IKEA yesterday. So I just moved into a new apartment.
Hmm.
I haven't really even posted much about it. So a lot of only like my close friends really know that I've moved out of my parents' house. So big news. Woo. But I went to IKEA yesterday just to get some stuff for the apartment. And it's required to wear a mask there, but sometimes you walk through the aisles and sometimes people will just kind of like readjust their mask or like hold it under their nose and it's like I don't know. I always have like a mini like freak out moment, so I'm always like, ah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I've like become really kind of anxious about those situations myself.
yeah, it's yeah, yeah.
I yelled at some lady yesterday at Target. I'm like trying to figure out the way to like shame people because like I don't want to wear the
Hmm.
mask either. And
Hmm.
like you can have your beliefs, but here in the city it's a mandate. Um
Right,
so like
exactly.
we're all doing it because
Hmm.
we all want to do it. So
Right.
yeah, I've been trying to
Hmm.
find ways to subtly shame people into doing it or just make them feel less comfortable because I'm like this is
Yeah,
not my time. This is not the time when I'm in Target trying to enjoy my life for me to like fear for my life
yeah,
because I'm not trying to get that. So
right. It almost feels like survival mode when you're just trying to get groceries. It's like,
uh, Mikono says I can't handle people's masking tendencies and LMAO good. But I just don't want to
yeah.
like get shot either because I feel like
Mhm.
that's also like this thing that's going on is that like you can be angry at these people but you don't know who these people are who are like
Mhm.
not masking well. So
Mhm.
anyways, that's the COVID portion of the travel agency.
Yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I did. Should I show my beverage
yes, I
for
have
today?
beverage.
Okay, sweet.
This is okay. So, for everyone who's watching, who's been watching, and for those people who are new, we've had this segment called the Bloody Mary Gauntlet, which was like us trying out different Bloody Marys because it's a brunch show and pitting them all against each other and rating them. 3 weeks ago, Jake Leach and I had like the blowout winner of the Bloody Mary Gauntlet. Like no, it's like I think statistically impossible for any Bloody Mary to get a higher score than that Bloody Mary got. So it kind of like, and also there aren't many like canned Bloody Marys. So basically the whole segment, the whole bit is ruined. And like it's no longer the Bloody Mary Gauntlet. But now what it's kind of turning into is like the canned cocktail gauntlet because like since we're doing all of these virtually, it's an easy way for us to have the same drink. Are you opening?
Yes.
We got to get the you got to make sure to
Oh,
get
do
the
we have to?
No, you just want I just want the sound. I like the
Oh, you do. Oh, okay. You ready?
You ready?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was pretty good.
Woo!
Here's mine. It just sprayed all over my computer.
Oh no.
Okay, so this week we have the aviation canned cocktail from 1220 Spirits. Gin with citrus and violet.
I really like this.
Tea Green Girl canned cocktail gauntlet. We need a new name. Any ideas? Yeah, chat. if you want to come up with a name better than canned cocktail gauntlet, it shouldn't be too difficult. Did you try it?
I did. It's really good. I'm new to alcohol, so I mean, I'm 22, but
Okay.
I don't drink that often. So I like one of my favorite drinks are like fuzzy navels or rum and coke.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and recently well, yeah, I don't know. I've been trying out more stuff, especially like my roommates have been introducing new things to me. But
Mm-hmm.
this is really good.
You like it?
Yeah, I really like it. I accidentally drank gin just straight up in a shot, like maybe like last week.
Mm-hmm.
Bad idea because I didn't have like a chaser or anything like that.
Mm.
Bad idea because like it just did not go down the way I thought it would,
Yeah.
and I kind of felt yeah, but this is good. This is really good.
Gin can be intense. It's like very, very
Yeah.
floral, or it has kind of like an evergreen. Like sometimes you get a gin and it tastes like
Mm-hmm.
you're like chewing on a pine tree, um, kind of
Mm.
vibe. Which like
Okay.
if you're not used to that, if you take shots of like whiskey or vodka or tequila, like gin is so fragrant that it's different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
this is pretty good. I think 1220 puts out some cool stuff. Uh,
Yeah. I
um,
did also bring a sandwich just for the viewers so they know it's a vegan chicken sandwich with I have a McDonald's barbecue with me. It was left over and I was just like
okay, so in the
but yeah,
chat,
I thought that was oh yeah.
William Schenk, I don't know how to say it,
Yeah.
says canned cocktail crucible.
Ooh, that
Yeah,
is good.
the
William
crucible.
is very good with words.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was immediate, and everyone seems to
Yeah,
agree.
wow.
So I think I have to go with that. Uh,
Yeah, that's actually really good.
yeah, you can definitely eat if you need to eat. I think
Mhm.
sometimes it's weird to chew in people's ears.
Yeah, I wasn't for sure if I should bring this or not, but I was like, what would be good with this? And I was like, that might be a good combo. I just brought it just in case.
It sounds good though. Are you vegan?
No, I'm technically vegetarian, but I really enjoy eating. Like, I try to eat. Well, I don't know. It's just like if it tastes good, I'm gonna eat it. So if
Yeah.
it's vegan, you know, I don't really drink milk.
Mm.
But I'll eat products that have milk in it. But I don't really drink milk anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
like I do still really like eggs and cheese. Oh my god, pepper jack cheese, really good. That's my favorite cheese.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm vegan. That's why I asked.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I have respect for all eating styles, most eating
Yeah.
styles, and there are like
Mm-hmm.
really good vegan alternative stuff, um,
Yeah.
which
I
is
feel
pretty
like I
cool.
mostly eat vegan food. Like I also have my own recipe that I've been making and I post it on my like Instagram all the time every time I make it because I it's something I created that I'm just very proud of because like I've never really been like the best with like making like food, I don't know, just like homemade food. But it was something that a lot of my friends and even like my roommates, they tell me that it tastes like something out of a restaurant. So when I made
Oh,
it, I was like so happy about it. But I don't know.
so the aviation, on
Mhm.
1220spirits.com,
Yeah.
the aviation can is inspired by the classic aviation. We combined origin. So yeah, this 1220 like company makes gin and they call it Origin.
Mm-hmm.
Our new West, which is kind of lame, but
Oh.
also really great. Our new Western gin and Violet to make a refreshing beverage that will send your spirit soaring.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I
They're
don't
doing a
have
good job.
what's that?
They're doing a good job.
Yeah, I don't have like a
Yes.
new rating system aside from what we used for the Bloody Marys, so we're just gonna
Mhm.
use that and see see how it goes. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the only one that like is gonna be bad is the spice one because
Mm.
not spicy. But Okay, so what we do is we rate five different metrics on a scale of 1 to 10. Those metrics are
Mm.
spice, quality, flavor, mouthfeel, and uniqueness. And you go first since you're the guest. Um,
Mm.
so maybe if we want to start with flavor on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you think?
I think maybe like maybe a 7 or 8. It does taste really good, but it's also a taste that I'm not normally used to. It's a little bit
Yeah,
more that like floral, I
it's
guess. Taste.
so floral.
Yeah. And I normally drink very like sweet, fruity taste rather than floral, but this is really good for a floral taste. Um,
It has a little like gin stink in it. There's like a little
mhm.
there's just like a tiny
Yeah,
little bit of stink in there.
little bit. Yeah. I feel like also like I feel that in the texture too.
The stink?
Like when I drink or just like yeah, or I don't know. There's just something about gin that you can like feel. You can tell it's in there,
Yeah.
I think.
There's like this sickly, syrupy kind of
Hmm.
thing to it.
Hmm.
Okay, so a 7 or 8, do you want to go with a 7.5?
Yeah, that sounds good because it tastes good for a floral taste. Like that's the thing.
Mhm.
And normally I've had floral taste where I need too much for me.
You don't have to like it.
Oh,
It's,
I know. I
it's
like
not
this
required
one
you
though.
like it.
I like this one though. This one because it has more things in it. It has like citrus. It says citrus and violet.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Violette. Um
Violet.
yeah,
Violet.
I'm going to go with a 6.
Mm.
T Green Girl in chat says medicinal, maybe is the word we're looking
Mm.
for.
Oh yeah.
I can't ever find quality of ingredients anymore. I think it tastes pretty quality. I don't know. What do you think about the ingredient quality? It's such a bummer because like in these cans they don't tell you what's in it, which I don't
And that's what
like.
I was looking for. Mm.
Yeah, we
I
can't.
mean,
What do we do
yeah.
when we can't
It
find it?
definitely tastes like the citrus a little bit. Like it has a very like light, subtle citrusy taste. But then the violet is also pretty noticeable, I think. Yeah, I'm not for sure.
And then what about the mouth feel? How do you feel about that?
Like the can itself,
No, the way that like the drinking of it.
it goes down.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. I think like hmm. It does still have that like that one that distinct gin taste though.
Oh, for sure.
So when I drink it, it like almost makes me go like for a
Mhm.
second,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
Am I supposed to give that one a rating? I don't know how to rate that one.
I don't know. We're just workshopping this, you know. This
Okay,
scale is like
yeah,
not meant for what we're using it for at
yeah,
all, and
yeah.
it's really like rearing its ugly head. It's I'm gonna have
Hmm.
to come up with like completely different quality metrics for the canned crucible, for sure.
Mm,
So
yeah,
so
yeah.
we're just gonna muddle through this for like 3 more minutes and make it like excruciating because it doesn't make any sense, and then we're gonna move on. Maybe we'll just if you could give it just
Hmm.
let's forget all of this and
Yeah,
you just give this drink a rating on a scale of 1 to 10 to 1 decimal place. What would you give it?
7.
A 7 even.
It's hard for me to really like to actually keep up drinking an alcoholic beverage unless it's like my favorite.
Yeah.
And this one actually I wouldn't mind drinking this like even though it does have that like that gin taste still to it. it's still enjoyable, much more enjoyable than any beer I've ever had.
Hmm.
I really don't like beer unless it's Red's hard cider or the apple cider. Really good.
I don't know if that's
I
beer.
recently it's technically considered an ale or
Oh, is it?
something. Yeah, yeah. It's like 5% alcohol. The one that I get, they have like a one that I've had a tall boy and it was like 8% alcohol, but like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's technically considered an ale, surprisingly, and it does not taste like a beer at all.
Mm.
And like that's like my favorite. But um, what was it? Other than that, I really don't drink beer and I don't really keep up with alcohol in general. But if I was given the choice to drink this, I'd take
Good.
one. I'd say sure, and that's why I give it a 7. You know,
1220
like
spirits. I'd
if
take
I don't
one.
mind, yeah, exactly.
I think that oh, T Green Girl in chat asks if it's effervescent. Yes, it is. It has like
Mhm.
a slight carbonation to it. It
Yeah.
seems. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think it's kind of stinky. Like the more I drink it, the
Mm-hmm.
more I think it's kind of
Mm.
stinky. Um,
Really? Mm.
I don't drink alcohol like I haven't had. I don't drink except for on Art Brunch now, so it's weird. But like I definitely wouldn't choose to drink this,
Mm.
given all the choices in the world.
Yeah.
Like I would go a different way for
I
sure.
would definitely go a different way, but
Yeah,
if like I had to, like if it was like we only have water, well, I mean, I would drink water, of course.
yeah.
I normally prefer water like all the time, but like maybe not water. Okay, if someone was like, okay, we have like some stag or like PBR, and then we have this,
Uh
I
huh.
would choose this
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. This is the yeah. If somebody gives
It's like
this to
all right.
you, you can drink it.
It's like decent. Yeah. Mhm.
I'm gonna give it a 5.7.
Mm.
I liked it at first, and then it just keeps getting
Yeah.
stinkier. But
Yeah.
I'm just gonna roll with it. All right, great.
Yeah.
That was the Canned Crucible Volume One. Thanks again, William, for the name. Um, so a little bit of a transition here. Whatever Grandpa says, stay hydrated, angels.
Oh, I have my water here.
Yes,
Big cup.
we're hydro
Mm.
homies.
Yes. And it's funny because like a lot, like almost all my friends, they know like I don't like I know I need to stay hydrated. Miss Betta like lets me know all the time, but I sometimes drinking water can be like can feel like a chore to me.
Mm,
Like unless it's cold. If it's cold, I will always drink it. But like I normally, for some reason, am I'll drink room temperature sometimes, but something about it, like I kind of have to make myself drink water. Like
mm-hmm,
I almost get like I am like a super busy person almost all the time, and
mm,
so like sometimes drinking water can feel like this is just something I have to do, even though I'm like already busy doing all these things, you know. And taking care of myself can kind of be like hard in that way, you know. Like I know it's like necessary for
mm-hmm.
me, but I often put other things above that, which is not the healthiest, but it's just how I work, you know, how my brain works.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it definitely takes intention if you know
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't like it wasn't really reinforced at
Mm-hmm.
in childhood or whatever to drink water,
Mm-hmm.
drink water, drink water.
Yeah,
I went through a
for sure.
period where I like knew I was just chronically dehydrated, so I would just force myself to like drink as much water as I could anytime.
Yeah.
Or like in
Yes.
school, I would
Mm-hmm.
drink water every time I saw like a water fountain, just like little rules to try to do it. And then I think it eventually
Yeah.
worked. And now I'm just like full on.
Mm-hmm. If I make it a habit, like there are like sometimes where I like if I drink water for a few days and like really make myself do it, it almost tastes better.
Mm.
But it's like the one day I slip up, then it's like, man, I can't make myself drink water anymore. Oh my gosh.
We're all growing. We're all growing together.
Yes. Yes.
So I wanted to talk about your artwork a little bit, or like just kind of get
Mm-hmm.
started on talking about some of the art stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I'm just really curious about. I think I'm always super fascinated with people who are artists who became artists and what creativity was like for them when they
Mm,
were a child, like when they were young. Do you have like really early memories of
I
your own
yeah.
creativity?
So I do remember I like to draw all the time. Like drawing was like at first the very first thing I ever did
Mm-hmm.
really. And I vividly remember that like my mom was like so proud about this like it was like this it was like this teddy bear I had and I would draw it or something and she said it looked pretty it was a pretty good drawing,
Mm.
and she was always proud of it. She would always bring it up all the time, which was really cool. And in elementary school, I always loved doing art. Like that was like my favorite class. But it wasn't until like maybe I was in maybe like fifth or sixth grade. My mom, she gave me this like Nikon Coolpix one,
Mm-hmm.
like from like the 2000s, and it was like 4.6 megapixel or whatever. Anyways, I would bring this camera with me everywhere. Like my mom, not my mom, but like my brother was almost sick of me bringing it places because I'd always be like, I need to take a picture. Wait, wait, I'll catch up. Like I need to go do this. I
Mm-hmm.
was always like wanting to take photos all the time, like since and that was like I was probably like around like 12 years old, when I had that. I still kept up drawing. It just was something I did less, and that I took photos more. And when I got to high school, I still kept up with drawing, and I did like oil pastel and charcoal became my favorite out of any drawing utensil
Mm-hmm.
because it's kind of like looser. It's not like so. I felt like when I would draw with just like pencil or colored pencil, like it just felt like very hard and like not me. And I feel like I really liked charcoal because it was really like adaptable and like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know the word, but so I would do that in high school. And I my freshman year of high school I learned how to do film photography, and
Mm.
that became like my biggest passion. We didn't like they offered like they had like DSLRs, but I feel like they weren't the best. So
Mm-hmm.
I preferred to use the film cameras because I felt like they were better quality. And so I would do that all the time. And yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much that. But I will say, like, as transitioning from high school to college, my mom was not accepting of me to pursue art as a
Mm.
career, or just to continue it. My mom was always like, just thought this would be like a hobby type thing that you did, like. And so it was always discouraging. I never had like full support from my mom, so
Mm-hmm.
that like affected me very greatly when I was like just trying to discover myself as an artist in person. Like my mom kind of like was always unsupportive of that and the way I would express, like, even just like I feel like clothing is a way of expression for me
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. So like she would like often like think that I like she would just say like comments like why do you dress like that, and that kind of like ate away at like my self-esteem and like my
Mm.
self-expression. So I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much like how my childhood growing up from like as kid to adult kind of was. Like it wasn't completely like supported. And yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah,
had yeah, I don't
yeah. So I'm
know.
curious.
You have questions?
I'm curious, like how you mentioned that she was the one who
Yeah.
bought you the Coolpix camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that something
Well,
that?
mm-hmm.
Oh, did I?
It was like her camera, and she just like would let me use it
Oh,
all the
okay.
time. So she
So
kind of gave it to me.
so it was like
Mm-hmm.
you could use it here and there, and then you just kind of like commandeered it, and it was like
Yeah.
the thing that you used. Okay, so that's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because I was thinking about it as like giving you that was like this source of um like permission to explore
Mm-hmm.
this creative stuff, but
It felt like that. Yeah. it kind of felt like that at first, like when I
Yeah.
was really young, like when I first started. But then, as older, it just didn't feel like that anymore. It almost felt like, yeah, we gave you these tools, but we don't expect you to keep up with them almost.
Mm.
Like that's kind of how it felt like. Or like, yeah, it's like kind of very contradictory, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like it. Um
Mm.
and like did you have the sensation that the more serious that you got with it, that like that support started to really kind of like whittle away, like proportionate to
Yeah.
like your seriousness?
Yes. My mom did not want me to take photography as, like she didn't want me to study it for my degree. So I kept it a secret from her.
Mm.
Um, and my mom knew that like in high school I was very into like learning languages. So like I had learned French my whole, 4 years of high school. And when I went to Webster, I had told my mom I was going to be a French and education major, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew I wasn't going to keep up with that. Second day of school, like the thing is, like I had to figure out how am I going to switch this. So like it took me 2 days to figure out like where I needed to go, who I needed to talk to. And then second day of school, I just like changed my major,
Whoa.
and yeah, I changed my major to photography. And also like my work study was in the dark room at Webster. So um I had worked my whole 4 years there. And yeah, I don't know, that's pretty much where I kind of like got more resources and connected with more people.
Mm-hmm.
One of my really good friends, Will Driscoll, he was actually, I think he was like a senior when I was a freshman. And I would always see like his work, and I would be like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, I
Mm.
can't wait to like to grow as an artist and like be doing like really cool stuff, like having my own like exhibitions or exhibitions with my friends and everything. Like, so that was like something that had inspired me early on. But yeah, I just felt like my mom, she would be really unsupportive. And when I finally told her, it's the second semester of my freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
because she was like, "What classes are you taking?" And I was telling her, and she's like, "Well, that doesn't sound anything related to your degree." And I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of, I kind of switched my major." And my
Oh
mom
wow.
was just, yeah, she was like not happy about it. She like literally looked me straight in the face. I remember this in my bathroom, and she like says she doesn't remember this now, but like it like scarred me pretty much. Like she was like, she looked at me straight in the face and was like, anyone can pick up a camera and be better than you. And I like after that, like I just had felt like so like belittled. I feel like that and
Mm-hmm.
like I just like never really told her, and I still don't really tell her that much about like what I do like with photo. Like I kind of do, but it's just like I know that she like just doesn't, she doesn't quite get it, like we don't click in that way.
Mm.
So um but you know, she like will say like, "Oh yeah, that's a cool photo," but she's never really been like, that's, I'm so proud of you like for
Yeah.
doing XYZ. So it's something that like I've kind of like learned to take on like just independently. It's like I know who I am, and even though my mom doesn't, support it, like it's something that I'm like pretty much gonna do no matter what, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Chris, welcome to the stream. Good to see you here. Nikono says, I feel that my parents were skeptical of art as a path for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think that I want to thank you for sharing that. It might be something that's difficult to talk about in a public forum, but so important for people who run into issues trying
Mm-hmm.
to like ratify this
Yeah.
this thing with their parents who don't have a frame of reference for it.
Right.
Um, I want to get back into that in a little bit more, and I want to get into your work here
Mm-hmm.
shortly. Um, I think that uh, I think that now would be a good time to take our 11 o'clock break. Um, so then we can take a short break, and then we can really dive into uh, the um, the details of the work that you're making, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about how you find support for your work, and then like
Mm-hmm.
in contrast to that area, those areas that you don't find support, and kind of like how you built your support system, um,
Yeah.
to like further motivate you into uh, being able to choose this path, because that's, I mean,
Yeah.
it's so sad in some ways, but it's also so great that you're able to find support systems, to motivate
Mm-hmm.
yourself into this, even though that there's some
Mm-hmm.
conflict around it in your life. And I think we all artists find conflict in their life, whether it's money or family or love, who may or may
Yeah.
not understand. Um,
Yeah.
may or may not understand that. So we're going to take a short break here. We usually break for about 10 minutes. Chris Griffin, we are based in St. Louis, Missouri. Aly's also here in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm going to pop Aly's links in the chat if you're interested in following her, or checking it out. All right. Thank you for the follow. Omnisolart. Sorry, I don't know how to say it. Yeah, perfect time for everybody to come in here because we're about to take a quick break. uh, we usually take a break for about 10 minutes, so you can hang out, and chat with each other in the chat, or set a timer for 11:10 because we'll be back on before then, and we're gonna talk some more. We're gonna get into it. Thanks to everyone who's watching. If you're enjoying the stream, a follow really helps. If you're interested in supporting the work that we do here, you can subscribe to the travel agency. You can check out our links, follow us in these various places. We have a Discord. We also have a form on our link tree, for people who are interested in being a guest on Art Brunch, or just want to do some collaborative stuff with us here. Any and everything there you can find in the link tree. So we will see you all back at 11:10. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Or I guess you didn't go anywhere, but we went somewhere. So, welcome us back from break. Thank you for sticking around. It's really important. I hope the break was restful and rejuvenating for you. It was for us. Allie now has a sandwich. Um,
I do, yes.
And yeah, so you're watching Art Brunch on the travel agency. So Art Brunch is our weekly-ish show that we talk with contemporary artists casually about art, about them, about their work, about contemporary art. Uh, the reason we do it is because a lot of the information that you get from contemporary artists is so dense because if you go to an opening, like a local gallery opening, the artist who's putting out the work is talking for like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and they have to talk like very specifically or very frankly about their work because the time is so short. So what I like to do here is just bring on guests who are making contemporary artwork, and we just have a conversation as if we're eating brunch together. And we can get to a lot of cool and interesting places that there aren't really systems set up for in the contemporary art world right now. So if you're interested in supporting the travel agency, if you like what we do, or if you want to collaborate, you can do a number of things. I'll put the link tree in the chat here. We just have this like really rudimentary form that we just created in case you want to collaborate. We're looking for artists who want to have shows on the travel agency, like create your own show and uh, share your work that way. Or if you're interested in being on Art Brunch, we're always looking for guests, even for next week. So fill out that form, say hi, and we will talk to you there. So before the break, Allie and I were talking about support
Support
systems
system.
and how like a big support system that a lot of people have is family, and also like a big support system that a lot of people lack is family. It's kind of one of those spaces that is really emotionally charged, and
Mm-hmm.
you have it or you don't, or it's there's always some energy involved in family for sure, and in navigating that space because you just have to be together. So I'm curious, like the the support systems and structures that you created
Mm-hmm.
around your work, or like where
Mm-hmm.
that started, or how how you formulated like a support system for your work or for your exploration and being an artist.
I think that I have pretty much formulated my support system through my friends. My friends have almost become my family, and I feel like they know me way more than my family will ever know me,
Hmm.
especially my best friend, Nermina Furkic. She is also an artist, and we've been friends since middle school. And she's always someone who, like, we would always like go out, take photos, maybe at like the botanical gardens, or like we just like pretty much go anywhere and just take photos and do art days and everything, like where we would just like make art and drawings and stuff like that. But she's pretty much been my family, and she has anytime I've ever, because I never really have gotten along with my family. We would just even just argue about things just in general, like
Mm-hmm.
because we just didn't get along. And we're so different. And so I would always call Nermina, and she would always be there to like pick me up. We'd drive, and I'd cry, and she's pretty much my sister. And so, like, she's been my biggest support system. And so yeah, I'm very thankful for her. And
Yeah.
also a lot of my other friends, I feel like within the past couple years I have kind of moved out of a lot of unhealthy friendships and relationships. And just I feel like this year, it's crazy, just this year and maybe like a little bit of last year, I found like so many like new friends who are so supportive. And I mean, sometimes I will, if I ever like make a really personal connection with someone, even though I've only talked to them like a few times, I like already consider them a close friend, because it's like, having very personal and intimate conversations are not something I can do with everyone. So when I find even just anyone who is interested in that, I like value that very,
Mm.
like very greatly, because it's something I've never gotten from my family. So,
Yeah.
hmm
Yeah, and that's something that I think was like really refreshing uh, when we first started talking. Like I would
hmm
ask you who your favorite like contemporary artist is, and
yeah,
you didn't say like whoever
hmm
like Gerhard Richter. You said
yeah,
Justin Solomon,
yes. Oh
right?
my gosh. So Justin, he has made like the biggest impact on. Oh my god, I can't. I was going to bring him up when we were on break, and then, but yes, what was it? He also has been one of like my biggest support systems, and also one of like just someone who always has inspired me. Like I feel like every time that me and him, we would, do a photo shoot together, there was this creative flow that I could not get with any, like almost anyone else,
Mm.
besides Nirvana. And so, like, he is just definitely someone who has inspired me, and pretty much just he has a really big impact on me, and I'm so proud of him, all the work that he's also done the past couple years.
Hmm.
And yeah, I don't know, he's also like family. I haven't gotten to see him in a while, just because we've been busy, and also COVID, but like, we still get to talk time and time, and I just love him so much. He is my favorite photographer in St. Louis. So yes,
Yeah,
favorite artist, and just even just contemporary artists in general.
I know, which is it's like so refreshing
Mm-hmm.
because I ask that question to a lot of people and I have that
Mm-hmm.
conversation with a lot of people and it's for me even when I think about it, it's this person that I never met who's making this work that has like some sort of impact on me, right? But
Mm-hmm.
or it's like something that I aspire to, or it leads me to even question like what is the value system through which I like pick my favorite contemporary artist, right? Like I don't know these
Mm-hmm.
people most of the time,
Yeah.
but then it's like so refreshing to think about like this person and like
Mm-hmm.
what they're doing, why they're doing it, what they're
Yeah.
capable of, and the impact that they've had on your life. And like,
Yeah.
shouldn't that mean more than, like worldly success or
Yeah. For sure.
this person, oh, I like this person because they're represented by this gallery and they're showing here and
Mm-hmm.
here. And those are things that I
Mm-hmm.
want to do, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's like I don't know. It just made my own experience of thinking about my favorite contemporary artists feel a little flat when you said that, and it was like really really special to me to
Mm-hmm.
just hear you say that with such
Yeah.
like determination.
Yes, yeah. Whenever anyone ever asks me, hands down, it's always Justin. Also, another one of my favorite contemporary artists is like my friend Will Driscoll,
Hmm.
and Moira is also one of my favorite contemporary artists. It's always like my friends, because I see them, I recognize that they're doing all this very strong and personal work, and it feels like I find connection to it, and I also find connection to it because I know them, and it's like I want them to get the recognition they deserve, because like their work is so powerful.
Mm.
And so it's almost like all of my friends, I just like, I love seeing everyone like making really cool work, and I they support me, and so I want to be able to support them too, whether it's word of mouth, or you know buying prints and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, like I really do like art in general, and seeing like people that who have had world success, like that's cool too, but
Hmm.
it's just like it's so much cooler when it's like local, and it's in your community, and it's like these people, and like you can collaborate with them, and then make new art that other people will find connection to as well. So I really value like that, especially because like I don't know, they've made it such an impact on me even just as humans, you know.
Yeah. And probably
Mhm.
more of an impact on you than like
Mhm.
Gerhard Richter can from
Mhm.
his spire in the sky and like
Mhm.
whatever like paintings he decides to bestow upon
Yeah.
us, or like the institution
Mhm.
decides that like we're ready to see, or that's like profitable for them to show,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
it gets into all of this like weird stuff. Is like, is that his work or is this like commercial, or
Yeah.
but like, to build off of what you're saying, like the piece behind me is Vaughn Davis,
Mhm.
local artist here in St. Louis, and he's like one of my favorite people in the entire world. Uh, and it's like
Mhm.
it's such a valuable experience to know that like I supported him through the purchase of this work. Uh,
Right.
and it's actually become like really addicting in the past
Yeah.
period of like, now I'm not buying anything, any decor
Yeah.
that's not like
Yeah.
from someone that I know, because why would I?
Right. Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like I feel like yeah. I'm sorry. I'm on the same page.
Yeah, no, we're good.
It's cool. I've met Vaughn. We had Time Studio when I was at Webster together.
Hmm.
So I know him through that, and um but I haven't really had contact since then because sometimes I feel like uh with class I don't really talk that I keep up too much with some people, but
Hmm.
he's really cool and he's a very talented artist,
Yeah.
and that's cool. So yeah.
Yeah, all the good stuff.
Mhm.
But you also
Mhm.
make really great stuff. So
Thank you.
I think this is a good time to maybe talk about some of the work that you sent me.
Mhm.
And then it'll also, I'm sure it'll play into, you know, uh, these discussions that we're having about community. Um,
Yeah.
this community is just everything. So let me adjust my screens here. Okay. So we've just got a selection of images here that you sent me.
Yes.
The ones that I posted for everyone to see were these glitch art um, pieces here. I think this is a portrait by Justin.
Yes. So Justin actually took that photo of me, and I wanted to submit that as my headshot
Yeah,
because, um, yeah, I don't know, I really like that one.
just a good
I haven't.
example of his
Yeah.
work.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. And we just like we took that on. We were experimenting. So a lot of the photos that I have created for my Reasons for Hoarding book were taken on a Bronica RF, so rangefinder 645, and he took that image on that camera, and we connected like a it's like a flash setup that we hadn't done that with that camera before, so it was like an
Mm.
experiment, and it came out like this, and I was like, what? And so like I don't know, Justin, he like we would always like experiment and like would always have like the coolest like outcomes of what we made, so that's like one example of like but yeah, like, and I wasn't always used to modeling. Like, modeling was something I always kind of wanted to get into more.
Hmm.
Um, and so Justin really, really boosted my confidence because, like, he captured, like, how I like to see myself.
Mm.
Like, I feel like every picture he's taken of me, like, has been I'm always like, I love that photo. Like, and there's some photographers who like they make great work, but sometimes when I see photos that they've taken of me, it's like maybe I don't like my angle the right way, and it's like he always captures every single picture like the way
Hmm.
I want to be seen. So yeah, that's like one example.
And and you do portrait photography, right?
Yes. So portrait photography is one of my favorite things to do when it comes to photography. I love capturing people just the way they are in a very like almost documentary way. So this is my friend Jess Donovan, who is also a local artist in St. Louis.
Hmm.
Um, I We were always like kind of following each other on Instagram, but uh, I was going on a trip for school to New York, and she was also going to New York at the same time. I'm not for sure. I think she was just going to travel. I'm not quite sure on the exact reason, but the thing is, she posted on her Instagram that she was going, and she was like, "Here's the dates," and I was like, "Hey, I'm going the same time. We should
Mm.
like meet up." And we did. So we met up in New York, never had met in St.
Whoa.
Louis. We had mutual friends like Justin Solomon, and uh, I'm sorry, Tyler Small, and
Hmm.
also Colin Elliott. And so, like, we had these like mutual friends, but we had never met each other. And so we met in New York. We walked around Chinatown like for hours, got bubble tea, and then like later we had taken photos as well, like just in the street, and then we sat on a park bench at like Union Square Park for like maybe like 3 or 4 hours
Hmm.
because we had clicked. Like
Mm.
we had made like a very cool and personal connection after just like a few hours of hanging out. And so like that's like kind of like the story behind this picture is that like we were literally just walking around, we met up in the city, had no like really like big expectations besides like, oh, this is cool, we're like linking up, and we didn't really talk before that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we're still like really good friends now, and actually she for like COVID times, she's been like kind of messaging me about skateboarding, which is something I kind of got into the past couple years. Something I always wanted to get into, but my mom was always like, no, like she was protective about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, Nakono in the chat says Jesse, she's great. So we've got
She is.
another
I love
connection
her.
there.
Yay!
Yeah. So, like that's another thing. Like there's this, you know, you, I mean that's a great story. First of all, having like a tertiary connection with somebody for a period of time and then meeting them for the first time in a space that's like neither of yours,
Yeah.
which is like something that we try to do, right, in
Hmm.
small ways. So like the first time you hang out with somebody, you usually don't like hang out with them in your house or in their
Right.
house, right? First time you hang out with somebody,
Hmm.
you usually are in this space that's like not yours or not like either
Right.
of yours. Like let's meet at a park or let's meet at this restaurant. So there's this like mutual non-ownership of the space because like we're so attached to our personal spaces, and
Yeah.
it feels intimate to bring someone in there. Um,
Right.
but then like to meet that person in a space that's like a city that's neither of yours, is really interesting because like most of the time when
Hmm.
you travel to a city and you meet people, you're meeting people who also inhabit that city, and then you're kind of like a guest in their space or vice versa. So it's just like
Yeah.
it's like such an interesting level of
Yeah.
like meeting together in this city that's neither of yours, and that's like a cool
Yeah.
foundation for a friendship.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, but yeah, so the skateboarding thing. You want to talk about that? I want to talk about it. I love
Yeah.
skateboarding. I grew up skateboarding. I was like, that's like where I got introduced to all of my counterculture ideas of
Yeah.
like smoking weed or like trespassing, but like not actually like damaging
Yeah.
anything, or
Right.
the like
Yeah.
experience of people like disliking you for no other reason than you're choosing to participate in this particular activity, but then also
Hmm.
like the music, the culture, the
Yeah.
art, the images, and then its transfer or it's tied to like graffiti is like really
Right.
where it operates for me. So I'm curious about like
Hmm.
skateboarding for you.
So for me, when I was a kid, my oldest brother, he's like 11 years older than me. So when I was probably like, I don't know, like I know he had skated since like maybe like 15 to like maybe 18, 19.
Hmm.
And then I think like kind of after that, like once he moved out, I don't know if he kept up with it, but the thing is like, so when I was younger, like he was always skateboarding or listening to Blink 182, and
Hmm.
like I always thought like that was so cool. And I always wanted to skateboard, but my brother had, oh, this is the reason why he stopped skating. I think I think he was like either 19 or 20 actually, and he had hurt his knee really bad
Mm.
and had to get surgery. And so after that, my mom was like to me and my other brother, she was always like, "You guys are not skateboarding, blah blah blah." And so I
He
was
hurt his
always
knee
super
while
bummed.
skateboarding.
Yeah, he hurt
Okay.
his knee while skateboarding, and so he that's why he stopped. But I always wanted to do it because I always like looked up to my oldest brother. I thought he was like so cool, and
Hmm.
like so I wanted to do it. And my mom, she would like only let me ride like I had like a racer scooter,
Oh yeah.
and I and like she like would only let me ride up and down the street. And my street doesn't have like a cul-de-sac, but it kind of has like almost like a little like triangle type end where it's like there's enough room to kind of circle around.
Uh huh.
My mom would like only let me like ride up and down that and like go around that. And I never really got to do like really exciting and cool stuff that I always wanted to. So when I was old enough to drive, I would meet up with some of my friends who skated, and they'd let me try out their board. And yeah, pretty much I got into skateboarding from the help of like also like my friends. Like they would like like they'd let me use their board, or like they tell me like where I can go get things, like where I can go get like my board. So I got my first board at Infinity. And and go support local skate shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got my first board there, and I've had the same board since. I do have one other board, but the wheels need to be changed out. And recently, me and Avery Miller, who is my boyfriend, he let me take skate photos of him. And when I was getting into when I was getting into skating just in general, like a few years ago, like maybe like 3 years ago, um, I would ask even just like friends or just like guys that I would like either like match on Tinder or like stuff like that. I would be like, "Can you teach me like how to skate? Like, or can I take skate pics of you?" And you would be surprised. There were so many people who it was like very like close knit. So like people would be like, like, if you're not really used to skating, like I don't really like want any pics of me skating because you might not get the timing right, or like all these things. And it felt like super discouraging, or like
Hmm.
just like I don't know, I felt discouraged for a while, and I felt like, okay, well, I guess I can't get into skate photography. But so Avery, who is now my boyfriend, he always like talks about like we should go to this spot, like maybe we can take photos here. And he's like been the first person to really like guide me and encourage me about taking skate pics, and even just skating in general. Like he like even when I feel bummed, like I can't do this trick or something, he's
Hmm.
always like, "No, you got it." And like rather than like just saying, like being negative or like just dismissive about it, he's been really supportive. And so that's been really cool.
Yeah.
And I've already like learned several tricks just in the past few months of me and him hanging out. So
And probably some photography tricks
mhm.
too.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So you were into the skateboarding before you got into the skateboarding photography, right?
Well, I wanted to do skate photography first since I didn't have a skateboard, and I like didn't even know just really how to skate in general.
Hmm.
But people were being so dismissive about it. I was like, I'm gonna go get my own board. I'm gonna teach myself how to skate.
Yeah.
You know, so that's pretty. I kind of like left that out earlier, but like yeah. So I wanted to do skate photos first, and then ease my way into skating. But like
Mm.
feel like it's kind of almost better for me to do the opposite, because now I know what tricks, well, for the most part I know what tricks are what. And
Yeah.
also like I can kind of tell like timing wise now. It's definitely something I still need a lot of practice on because it's just still very new to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't wait to like improve. And like me and Avery are think we've got like all these cool skate art projects going, and like we've also been kind of designing making like glitch art designs for like skateboards, and I'm really excited about that because like I it would be so cool to just like make skateboard designs and I don't know, have like friends buy them and skate them or something.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this thing that I'm noticing like recently with again back to that like purchasing each other's work and supporting each other through
Mhm.
like supporting each other's artwork is that like people can't support your work unless you have an opportunity for them to. So like
Mhm.
if I wanted to
Mhm.
buy a print from you, right?
Yeah.
Like there's it's not immediately clear to me where to buy a print, right? So like
Mhm.
I'm not going to do it, and maybe it is for you. Um,
Mhm.
but for a lot of people that I admire or look up to, it's not
Mhm.
immediately apparent like where I can buy their shit, like where I can like
Mhm.
do that, you know?
Yeah.
And then like in these other subcultures, right? Like maybe somebody doesn't want a print from you, but they would like get your work on a deck and
Mhm.
like skate it, for a while, or enjoy it that way, right? And then
Mhm.
there's this like funny thing that happens with being a contemporary artist is like, is that like valuable for the work, or how does that like affect value? Um,
Mhm.
but I mean, also it'd just be super cool to see somebody like tray flip a five stair with your like. I think
Right.
it's. I
Or
don't think tray
yeah.
flip's the right term anymore. I think it's three flip. Tray flip is an outdated term. It shows my age.
Oh, I still say it.
Okay,
I still say it.
somebody can three flip a five stair or whatever with your board. Um,
Mhm.
how cool would that be, right? And then like
Yeah.
for you to like snap the picture, and then you could even
Right.
like make a print out of that, and then
Yeah, and it's like a cycle
yeah,
almost.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't seem
Um.
like diminutive of your like practice at all. Uh,
Right.
so cool.
I and what is cool is that like I mean I don't really make a lot of art that has a lot of functionality. So like having this would be like really cool. Like it's like functional, and also you can in a way spread the work because like when you're at the skate park or like you're just skating a street spot with your friends, like maybe your friends are like, "Whoa, that's a cool design. Like where'd you get it?" And then
Hmm.
that's like another cycle of like sharing the work and like like still like spreading connections. And so like that's what's really cool about it. And like also like I have friends where they just put hang the deck on their wall, and it's
Mm,
it becomes like an art piece,
yeah.
and you can view it in that way. So it's like what's cool about like skateboards is that they have this multifunctional like way to present the work,
Yeah.
and be utilized. So I think that's what's really cool about it and why I'm so interested in it. And then like yeah, again the cycling and I could make a zine with like photos of like people skating my design or like I don't know, which is really cool.
It is cool.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I want to kind of circle back to, and I'll just switch over to some of the glitch work that you were talking about since I
Mm-hmm.
have it here, and not necessarily related to this, um, but okay, so like two times here in our conversation, you've talked about moving into um, experiences that you didn't have support for. Like
Mm-hmm.
familial support for. So like
Yeah.
there's the photography, the artist thing, and there's this like skateboarding thing. Um, but what I'm noticing about the way that you talk about it is it's not like this in spite of thing that you're doing. So it's not just like
Mm-hmm.
somebody's saying you shouldn't do this, and then you say, "Oh, just because you said I shouldn't do this, I'm going to do this." Right? Because it's like
Mm-hmm.
not that's like not necessarily a healthy way about of making
Mm-hmm.
decisions for yourself. Right? But it
Right.
seems like you have this internal sense of self that's
Mm-hmm.
motivating you into these different avenues while also giving you kind of like this fortitude of moving into it, whether
Hmm.
you're like getting this external support for it or not. Is that something that you
Yeah.
have an experience of?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, especially like with this photo in particular. So this is like an old photo, but I revisited it this year because, so I actually in like early June had gotten out of like pretty toxic relationship. It was like my first relationship ever. And in the beginning it was fine, but like I feel like even in the beginning, like there were signs that like it was just not going to work out and that we were very different people, which is completely okay. But the thing is, as the relationship went on, because we were so different, there were a lot of like unhealthy behaviors and like things that were said that became more and more apparent, and which has greatly affected me now. Even like I still have like some, like there's no romantic feelings left of that relationship, but definitely like I realized like the way I was treated was not healthy. And I'm sure there were things that I might have said that weren't the nicest, but definitely in no comparison of the way I was treated. So
Mm.
my at the time boyfriend, he like he also used to or like he skates too, but he wasn't as encouraging. And so I never really had progression because I also always kind of like wanted someone to kind of mentor me and like kind of show me like how to do things. Kind of needed that. Like I always feel like in a lot of things I do, I need some sort of like guidance or like someone to show me like how they do it, and then I can incorporate it into my own way.
Mm-hmm.
But I made some poems that like kind of expressed like how I was treated. And just like after the relationship, I like had, so even just like in general, I had never like written poetry ever. Like I always thought I was really bad at writing, never did great in my English classes. And I just like wasn't good at like rhyming. And like I know with poetry you don't have to rhyme, but it's always something I wanted to be better at because I was like, that's cool to make things rhyme.
Mm.
So I am planning on making a book of poems, and it's not necessarily has to be directed towards, like an ex or anything. But I will say, like, I want to make these because there are other people in the world that are experiencing these exact same issues, and they might
Mm-hmm.
not know how to express it, or they might relate to it and just don't realize it. So, like, making work like that kind of like helps with that. And like maybe because the thing is, like, I feel like mental health and like therapy, like sometimes there's like a stigma on it, and so like people are afraid to like go see a therapist. Like I've never gone to a therapist because I was always scared of it. But for me, like I've been like journaling the past year, and like my mom always said, like, if you can't like get a therapist, like just journaling is really good for you. And I think it's like improved my writing skills,
Mm.
and it's really helped me express my words easier. And like also just like I watch a lot of like psychology videos on like YouTube, like from the School of Life. Like I've watched that for the past couple of years, and it's pretty much like free therapy.
Mm.
But I'm planning on making this book just like with just things I've experienced through, specifically I'd say like romantic relationships, because that's always something I struggled with even before like my first official relationship. I always like was like I always had wanted to be in a relationship, like always. I mean, I think like I know now, like I don't have to be in a relationship, but it is nice to have one. It
Mm-hmm.
complements, or like it's nice to have someone to compliment. But like I also acknowledge like I don't like need to have like a relationship to like make my world go around,
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. So, but like when I was younger, that is how I felt. I always felt like, and I think it also stems from other issues that like happened even earlier to me, like as a kid, that like I've always just felt like kind of I struggled with like my self-esteem and just like feeling like I don't know. I just kind of really never felt understood for a really really long time. And um just I always kind of like wanted to be in a relationship like once I like was in like high school. Like I just wanted to feel like I was wanted and appreciated, you know. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of the time I had felt like either just like unwanted, and I that made me in return feel gross. Like I felt like I was just like no one wants to be with me and I don't know why, and I think there's something wrong with me, and
Mm.
that's how I felt for the longest time. So I'm going to like continue making these poems that like kind of express that, but also acknowledge that it isn't like that anymore, and I've removed myself from these relationships or like these connections,
Yeah.
but if it's okay, I also had a few poems that I'd like to share, that I kind of created this summer. So after my relationship had ended, um, because like I had really wanted to, like come to a mutual agreement, and even though I wasn't treated the way I wanted, like I
Mm-hmm.
still like I don't want beef with anyone or anything like that. But
Yeah.
um, my ex boyfriend really didn't take it well, like just like there were just a lot of reasons he did not take it well. And well, I made these poems because I was like so upset at the time and I didn't know how to express myself. But this was the first one. Some moments give me hope that you still feel like that night you opened my car door and mumbled such vulnerable words. You were once so afraid to say them, now it seems like those words never cross your mind. Can you see me? Am I even here? You can't even open the door when I have my hands full anymore. I guess I let you treat me like this. I've let you confuse anger with bliss. Now I try to tell you how I feel, but it's like I spit in your favorite meal. I see the look of dread when I find the words to say, but you need to tell me I need to put those feelings away. Why did we grow together differently? Why is it only surface level you see? And then the second poem I had made, I think it was maybe the second or third poem, but I don't know, was it this one? Um, okay. He felt more like home than I had found it in anyone before. Even from the last day I walked out of the door, you always looked me straight in the eyes and said things the way my mom always knew how to make me cry. Even if it was just the tone of your voice, I felt like no matter what I did, I was always making the wrong choice. Even now, I wonder if I'll ever be free. It's like your words still have control over me. You'll never approve what I do or say, but you never tried, even when I stayed. I'll still never forget the way your eyes were filled with such disdain, when all I wanted was a little support, but the whole past year your warmth fell short. You strung me along for months on end to the point where my heart couldn't mend. You claimed you acted that way so I would get fed up. Does it cross your mind how that was messed up? You act like you gave me my best years, forgetting the times my eyes flooded with tears. And if it's all right, I have one last poem.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. Okay. I'm just like on a roll now because
Yeah.
like normally I get kind of nervous. But feet to head, like the dog at the end of your bed. That's how we slept. Sometimes I'd be in another room, my self esteem full of gloom. Were we even together, or was I just there? I felt so vulnerable, so bare, yet untouched. Um, and then I kind of want to like maybe like stop right there because like there are some things that I feel like maybe it's a little bit too personal. But
Yeah.
but like yeah, that's kind of like the beginning of the poem, and I think I might like want to include that like in the actual book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
it's
of
a very
course.
vulnerable space. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, I just feel like there were a lot of things that like like he would get mad at me about like not buying the yogurt he wanted, or like he would like he never wanted to sleep next to me, or like he always like wanted to be like by himself sleeping, and he would let me like sleep next to him if I was like feet to head, or even like, and I quarantined with him and his mom, but like like he wanted me to like sleep in the guest bedroom instead. So like I always felt like I was just there and I wasn't in this actual like relationship. Like it felt very like separated, and like
Yeah.
for like even like maybe the last 6 to 8 months of the relationship, like because he never really wanted to, like, I looked to him as a support system. Like, that's what I
Mhm.
was really wanting, was someone who I could feel like I could share my most vulnerable feelings to, apart from my best friends like Nermina, and so like I looked to him for a lot of support. And like he never really, I mean, he sometimes went to my art galleries, but like it almost felt like I was dragging him like with a rope, and it was just getting like smaller and smaller. Like it always felt like I was pulling a tooth just to get him to go and say like, I promise there won't be like that many people, like you can only stay for an hour, or like if you want to stay for an hour. Like it always felt like I had to like make these excuses somehow to like get him to stay or like to go there. And it just like that kind of also took a toll on me,
Mhm.
because like now I get worried, like what if my friends, or like what if this person who I really like, they don't want to go to my shows because like I know like that's how it was before,
Mm.
and but yeah, what was it, yeah, I don't know. So that kind of really took a toll on me, and I've made these poems in response to those.
Yeah. Chris Griffin in the chat says, I've been in a similar experience. It really is not a
Hmm.
good thing to be in.
Yeah.
And like to then like make work from the situation. Um,
Hmm.
when you started to make the work, uh, was it something that you intended on sharing, or was it something that you were doing for, more self-healing reasons?
It was definitely more self-healing reasons, but as I kept making more poems, I was like, whoa, I'm kind of making a collection almost. And because I love bookbinding, it's become a new passion of mine.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to like bookbind copies of it. And I don't know if that's something that's going to be like a mass produced or just exclusive for like select only, like you know like only make 10 copies and then that's that,
Right.
very exclusive. But I feel like bookbinding is also very like therapeutic and self-healing for me, because that's what I had done for my reasons for hoarding book.
Yeah, that's
And
the next thing I
so
was gonna bring up, because it's like that was
yeah.
another project that you did that was
Hmm.
cathartic and
Hmm.
vulnerable and in some ways healing, that you
Hmm.
use the form of the book to convey.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I wonder what you've noticed about the book as a form versus like the photograph or the poem, like the unbound poem,
Yeah.
as like a method for summing up an experience.
Yeah, for sure. So um like I think that I really enjoy seeing it in this way that it's presented, because rather than just like having the poem or just like reading it spoken word, um, you can like look back at these, like the text like is all handwritten in the book. So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted it to feel still very personable, and I feel like handwriting itself is almost like, everyone kind of has like a different voice, and very similarly, I feel like that's how like handwriting is. It's like it's almost like someone's voice, because it can be a little bit different but a little bit similar in some ways to others. And you can just always look back at this, and there's mixed media, so it's not just like photos on the wall. There's
Mm-hmm.
like, when I went through this process of this book, it started out like maybe 2 years ago. So I was in this class at Webster, Creative Strategies with Carol Hodson, and she wanted us to do a project. And I was like, at the time, like I just like really felt like I was like, I feel so uncreative. I feel like everyone else has like things going on. I don't have anything. And I just felt really embarrassed and like ashamed of myself that like I couldn't like come up with something for like a school project. And so I started taking photos of my room. And at the time, I was like kind of going through a really rough time, because um, at the time, one of my friends, her at the time boyfriend, had we kind of gotten a like a really like a heated debate about like religion, because I am not a religious person and I have my reasons for why, and I respect anyone that like believes in religion, but like it's just not my thing and I don't want that forced upon me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm very open, and I have a lot of friends who like are of different faiths, and that's cool for them. It just doesn't work the same for me, and that's fine. It's not a big deal. But I had gotten in this debate with this guy because he just wanted to debate, simply just to debate, to do devil's advocate, and I
Mm.
like it didn't feel very fair to me. And he kind of just like at the end of the conversation had kind of brought up like because I had said like like when I was younger, and because I had gone to Catholic school when I was like from preschool to first grade.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that already, like religion didn't feel something that was real for me. It didn't feel like I connected with it truly. And so um and I have my reasons why, and I had just said like, um pretty much like there were things in my childhood that happened that I didn't want to happen, or like there were things that that I did want to happen, like for my mom to be home more when I was a kid, and that just never happened really.
Mm-hmm.
And um, he kind of was just like, like I bet nothing bad ever happened to you. And I like pretty much shut down, especially I'm not really good with confrontation.
Yeah.
And so like when that happened, I shut down, and on my drive home, I was literally like had this like flood of memories of like things I had suppressed for years and years about my childhood,
Mm-hmm.
and all I could do was just cry home. Like I like cry home driving. Like that's all I could do. And I had always been messy. Like even as a small kid, like I remember like third grade, I got like in trouble because my desk was messy, and
Mm-hmm.
I got like a write up or something. And like I've always been messy since I was a kid, and my mom has always brought it up and kind of shamed me about it. Like, why are you so messy? Why are you like this? Like, she's always kind of been like, oh, there's something like off about you because like this isn't normal or something. And she's like really shamed me about like me hoarding, like I because I'm a hoarder, and I can openly say that because I have done a lot of research. And um I mean, my my room at my parents' house was messy for so long. Like the last time I remember it kind of being clean, because it would like I could clean it, but it would just get messy again within a week. So I
Mm-hmm.
always felt like, well, what's the point? I feel like I'm just wasting more energy. I might as well just leave it the way it is, and then
Yeah.
you know.
It's fair.
But yeah, but like now I realize, like it's actually really good to clean, and it's really good to get rid of things, because like there are some things that, you don't know. It's like actually having like a personal hold on you.
Mm.
So it's good to get rid of these things and cleanse, and like heal. But I was so that night I had like just cried home, and that's kind of when around the same time I was doing that project for school, and all I had started with were photos I had taken on the Bronica. I just, held it up in my like on I propped it up on something, put it on self timer, and it was hard because it's a rangefinder,
Mm-hmm.
and rangefinders you have if it's a split image. So if you have like this, like which is like the picture, to get it in focus, you have to get it to go completely.
Oh.
So what I would do is I would pre-focus it. I would have like something focus it on that, and then I would like go in place of what I focused it on and just hope that it was sharp.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't, it's the feeling more that matters of the photo than like it having to be technically done, correct. So, and if it was technically fine or correct, then, that's good, great. But the thing is, so I had started with 4 photos, and I did not provide them, but I did do ink drawings of the photos that I took,
Mm-hmm.
just four each, 4 photos, 4 ink drawings, and then I had extras. And then I just made that. And then like a year later, I was in a photo possibility class, and we were doing like photos as installation, photos as sculpture. And so I started doing these things where I would like take all the receipts from my car or like my room, and then just like hang them on the wall, and like see like what commonalities I'm seeing with these, or like I'm spending all of my money on trash food, and I'm treating my body like trash.
Mm-hmm.
And like why am I doing this, you know? And so for this, when I was in this class, then I actually really started doing even more research on why I hoard and why I am the way I am, because I still display like certain behaviors like hypersexuality, like that stems from like when I was like sexually abused as a kid, you know. And so like cuz these things like it's like I never, when I was a kid and this had happened to me, I was so young, I didn't know like, what was happening. I couldn't even grasp that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't say, like, no, this isn't right, you know, because I didn't even know what was happening. And so by the time I was older, yes, that's it. By the time I was older, um, like maybe even just like 12, like, and I realized what had happened to me, I just like I didn't even know how to tell my parents. I never told my parents because I thought, I didn't know what they were going to think. I didn't know if like my parents, like, they like to make sometimes like things a bigger deal than, you know. And it kind of like stresses me out because it's like I was like scared, like what if my mom is gonna try to like make this like some legal case or something. So I was
Mm.
just like kind of scared, like it would just like be something out of my hands that I don't know how to control. And so I like never told my mom. And it was, I felt like keeping it to myself was my way of controlling the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But actually keeping it to myself and like not acknowledging it made things worse because I never healed from it. I had forgotten like some things that happened, you know. Like I have very brief flashbacks and memories of things that happened to me as a kid, but like I don't know how long it went on. All I knew was like I didn't want to go to my grandparents' house anymore. And because like my mom would drop me off at my grandparents' house, right? So because my parents, my mom and my dad were poor and we need like they were always working all the time. So I never got to really see them. And you know, that kind of played a factor in feeling like neglected from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was like something. And then also just like my grandparents did not like, you know, they kind of did their own thing. You know, they're older, so they would just like sometimes wouldn't like watch supervise me like 24/7, you know. And my uncle and my cousin were living in the basement of my grandparents' house. And you know, sometimes I would just go down there just because like I knew like they had like a dog down there and I always wanted to go see the dog and everything. And like, but like also like I remember very brief things, like I remember seeing like naked magazines like just lying around places. And like, so like I was like not only exposed to like, you know, content that I should not have been exposed to as a kid, but also like my cousin who was 11 years older than me, like I don't remember everything that happened, but I do know like some instances for sure, like where like he touched me in ways that I did not want to be touched. And I didn't even know what it was and how to stop it. And so when I was older and like I realized that all this had happened, I like felt gross. I felt like something was wrong with me. Like I felt like all these different things. And like I was starting to become like so messy. And like I didn't know like what happened. So when I did this project, you know, like that was built on another project, um, I did all this research. And it felt in a way like even though I wasn't going to therapy, I was learning these things on like really understanding why I am the way I am, which is essentially why you go to therapy. Like you
Mm-hmm.
go to therapy to figure out like why why is this affecting me? Like what trauma is this stemming from, you know? And so this was the way I healed, and now I can like talk about it a lot more comfortably than I have the past, you know, I don't know how many years. Like I think, you know, like things that happened to me, I was probably like maybe 8, because like I knew it was at the time. This is why I don't really believe in religion as much as, you know, I would pray for like my parents to like be home more, so that way like I, you know, could spend time with them and I didn't feel like neglected, and then I wouldn't have to be at my grandparents' house and dealing with this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also like pray like I hope like I want these things that are happening to stop, because like I don't know what's going on, you know. And so whenever I was struck by that debate that night,
Yeah.
it really took a toll on me. And even after that, like the whole reason I was talking about that was because, like, one of my friends, she said, like, she had gotten cornered by someone who was very religious into making her do really religious things in a space she was not comfortable doing.
Mm.
And so I was just bringing up, like, yeah, I don't like it when things are like forced upon me, like that feels like a violation, of my space. And so, like, the book talks about that, and it also, like, I don't know. What was really also cool for this book was that I, started doing new mediums like bookbinding, alcohol transfers. I even scanned things on, or not scanned, but I had like prints that you could put onto like surfaces like wood, which I actually have. Um, and then I would take all my receipts and hang them up on the wall. And so in February, I revisited because the book was, when I did it for the photo possibilities class, it was just a zine, 10 pages long. No hand, like there was handwritten text, but it wasn't as in depth as the final copy. Oh, I don't even know if this is final. I keep liking to go revisit old work
Mm-hmm.
and make more, like a
Mm-hmm.
cycle. But the thing is, so in February, I was asked to be in a group exhibition called Back to Our Roots, which is about healing. And I was asked to put my reasons for hoarding zine in it. And I wanted to make it bigger than what it was because originally I was just going to have like the zine on a table. But I was like, I want it to be bigger. I want it to feel like there's more content. I want the the people reading it to feel more personal with it, like to really see like my room. And so I had taken even more photos. And so there's like old photos, there's new photos and new text. And I drilled a hole into a table. I have the table sitting next to me. I have drilled a hole into a table. I book bound the the book to the string went down into the hole of the table, and then I had like a stopper so that way, like, just to have it be tied to the space. I like the idea of it being tied to the space
Yeah.
physically and just like kind of mentally, because it's like the string and everything. It's like um you couldn't take the book from the table. It was like if you took the book from the table, you're taking the table with you,
Yeah.
because that thing is not coming off. And so yeah, I wanted it to be tied. And then it just felt so empty. Like I had like a tablecloth underneath, my friend Espeta provided. I had a purple tablecloth underneath the table, and it was just that originally. And
Mm.
I was like, no, I need things from my room. I want the viewer to be overwhelmed how I feel overwhelmed when I'm in my room.
Mm-hmm.
So I had the gallery provided these glass vitrine boxes, and I literally just took things from my car and my room and just pretty much put them in there. I did kind of place some certain things for viewers to see, like that I really wanted them to see,
Mm-hmm.
but like for the most part, some things were just literally placed like how like it was in my room, or etc. And it became this big installation, my most proudest installation I've ever made, because like it's about something that I could never talk about for years. And like I wanted the viewers, if they've ever had an experience, they could relate to it, and then they could like, I mean, I had a lot of people who had said like they felt like like this has happened to me too, and I like never knew how to explain it. And like
Mm-hmm.
there's all these details and like explanations of why I displayed these behaviors or might have felt this way before. And so I had a lot of people tell me that, and I would see like some especially like my friends. Oh my gosh, when I saw my friend Ramina show up, like it just meant the world to me. I cried so many times. I saw all my friends supporting me there. And like but like I had friends that would come up to me and cry because they were like, they just had that same experience. And so it was, for me, comforting in the fact that like these people can find comfort in my words and feel like they're in a safe space to, also express their feelings too.
Yeah.
And like I never really had a lot of work that like I feel like struck an emotion with people.
Hmm.
So seeing that, I felt like that was the response I was trying to achieve, was that I was wanting people to feel connected and personal to the work, and that was the goal of it.
Yeah. I think you really did that. Chris Griffin in chat said, I think in reference to tying the book to the table, it's as if you're hoarding the book too, and that they like that a lot. Uh,
Oh, thank you.
so,
Yes.
so even a good opportunity here to share the story and have it connect with people. And I know my experience in the gallery when I visited, um, people were taking time with it and spending time with it, uh, and having emotional responses to it and feeling
Hmm.
understood or feeling, despair in some ways.
Yeah.
Um, because it wasn't asking the viewer to feel healed, to feel
Hmm.
something other than what they were feeling. Like
Hmm.
um, the questions that work raised for people,
Hmm.
I think was really intimately tied to, the safeness of that
Hmm.
space, or like the strangely
Yeah.
comfortingness of that experience there, because it was like a comfortable little corner. Um,
Yeah.
is like this little den or this little like nook, right?
Yeah.
That kind of had that comfort, but also this kind of like this impending sense of doom
Hmm.
or
Yeah.
emotionality. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, thank.
At first, was when I saw the space, because it felt really big and like my work had felt so small, I was like very unsure of it. But I think that was actually really like the perfect space for it, because it felt tucked away and
Hmm.
hidden, and like just like how I suppressed all of my trauma, it was so hidden. Um, I felt like that was actually a really good choice for a space.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I agree. Well, thanks for sharing and being so
Yeah.
open about all of those things. I mean, it's wonderful to be able to do that and to make work from it and have that work communicate.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so in those moments, I like to just, uh, you know, bring the attention back to, the breath or wherever you're grounded, and for those who are
Hmm.
like viewing and watching this, if you're having emotional experience or it's reminding you about things, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
We've
Hmm.
had a few people share kind of how that feels for them in the chat, and it's difficult to like be confronted with someone else's experience that might be really similar to your own, or might bring up
Hmm.
like the ways that you weren't seen or taken care of as a child.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I know for me, yeah, I mean it's like what you said about, praying, or asking for things, and then having like
Hmm.
a negative experience with religion because you asked for these things and you didn't receive them,
Hmm.
I think really resonates with me. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
like what in the world is going on here, right? Like
Yeah.
how is how is someone so devoted to this particular thing and it's going to solve all the problems in the world if it can't solve this simple problem for me
Yeah.
as a
Right.
child? Like you deserved
Yeah.
that stuff for sure. You
Right.
deserve that.
Yeah. And I just had felt like very like unheard, and like my voice was not being heard. And so that's why like at the time I was like, it doesn't feel real for me, because I'm not, you know, exactly like what you were saying. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, and I guess like something I did kind of want to bring up, just because I feel like I didn't. It's mentioned in the book, and the thing is like, so, and it ties with like I feel like my mom not wanting to support me fully, like as me as an artist, is,
Hmm.
like my mom, like when, at the time when I was realizing these things about myself, when I was like 12, and I was like, like learning, you know, like you learn about like sex education in like school and stuff like that. And I was like, you know, like I realized what had happened to me. I was just like, I was really scared of like a lot of like older male figures,
Hmm.
and like including like my dad. My dad has never acted inappropriately towards me, but the thing is like I was scared at the time just because I it was just a trauma response, you know, and I didn't know like what to do, so I would like kind of like rebel against my parents and be like very argumentative and very defensive towards them. And like, well, I would specifically do that towards my dad, but my mom was just so angry about it that like, you know, this anger between all of us had been just building and building for years. And it felt like anytime there was even something like a small argument, it was stemming because of this growing anger and resentment,
Mm.
you know. And I think like that's also a reason why like my mom didn't really like support me doing what I was doing like as an artist, because she just already was feeling like I was like just disconnected from me,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that ties. And then also my mom, she like, because of all this, my mom would favor my middle brother, which I love him, but like it is very true that she favors him. And you know, she always kind of has. And you know, I would always bring up like, why do you choose favorites? And my mom would be like, no, we love you all the same. Yet like I'm always the first one to blame if something's left out. I'm always the first to, you know, like it always just felt like, oh, something's wrong, it's because I'm the problem child, you know.
Mm.
And like, because my mom would always say like it's always one thing or another with you. Like my mom would always bring these things, or like she would say like she really didn't like me crying. And like even we got like the reason I moved out was because like we just really could not get along. Like my mom had even to the point said on my graduation day, because she kept asking me what my plan was, and I was like, it's like, I don't know, I couldn't deal with the stress of her, like with this pressure of her like not wanting me to do photography. And like we just got in this argument, and she was just like, well, the only thing you're good at doing is crying. Like she had said that to me.
Wow.
And so, and like something I like never liked was being shamed for being sensitive, because even as a kid, like my older brothers would play pranks on me and be like, or say things that would hurt my feelings, and they'd be like, oh, it's just a joke, you know. But I'd still like, it hurt my feelings because I take things very seriously, and I've always kind of been like a serious person.
Hmm.
Like, you know, like a lot of times with my friends I can very much be very goofy and loving because I am very comfortable around them. But like outside of that, I can be a very serious, and sometimes I get worried I kind of come off as boring. But like I can just, I don't, it's like I don't know how to react right now, so I like won't say anything, or I
Hmm.
kind of will feel awkward, you know. But but yeah, something that like always like hurt my feelings was being shamed for being sensitive and for being so emotional, because like I can't help how I feel. Like my body just reacts the way it wants to, you
Hmm.
know. And I, yes, I do internalize some things, but sometimes things, you know, like it's, even if I internalize it, it's good to have a conversation about like what's being said too, so that way like, you know, both sides are being heard. But like I also did feel like my mom like never really wanted to hear my side of things, because she just had this assumption that like I'm just being over, like she's dismissive about it, you know.
Like you're making a big deal of it, or like,
Yeah, making
yeah.
it bigger than it was, you know, when I feel like in reality, like I don't think that's like true, because I think, you know, everyone kind of reacts to things differently. So my way of reacting isn't the same of way as how she would react. So, but the thing is, I feel like she would do that because she sees me as an extension of herself. So the fact that like
Mm.
she's sees me doing things that, you know, like doing studying art and things that like she would not do, because she is a very practical type person where she wants to have a job that is like, you know, for sure secured like money or something, like
Hmm.
she like a guaranteed everyday salary type job. Like that's what my mom has always wanted me to have, because she sees me as this extension of herself, and that's all she wants for me, which I understand she's doing that because she cares about me. And you know, like she wants me to have a happy life, but the way that she went about things and being unsupportive made things the opposite. And just her saying that I'm a problem child, like in a lot of narcissistic families, you see, like, you have like the narcissist, and then you have people that kind of like enable the narcissist to like act the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then normally there's like one person in the family who is like the one who's always pointing out, like, because a narcissist could be saying, like, oh, the sky is green. And if you tell them the sky is blue, they are going to have all these reasons on why the sky is still green, even though it's not.
Mm.
And so, um, I mean, at least that's why I kind of have been like seeing in a lot of videos is that, like, there's this like hierarchy of like the narcissist, and, like, I don't know how to describe it, but,
And there's also
but
this
yeah.
like there's this nature to the person who's the feeling type, or the person who is the one who wants to clarify,
Mm-hmm.
to like clarify around ideas that
Yeah.
that like there's just a nature in the work, or like a nature in the way of communicating, that like to the person who's not sensitive to that, needing that type of understanding or needing that type of clarity,
Mm-hmm.
that like puts a person into that role, or puts a person into this position. And when that, when that continues to reiterate itself over time, it turns into this resentment of like, why do you have to question everything that I do, right? Or like, why do you need me to explain myself, right? And that's something like I feel like a kinship with you, of like wanting to know in detail why something is the way that it is, or like tell me
Yeah.
in detail why you said the thing that you said, because like for
Yes.
me there are all of these details, and
Yes.
it's a helpful practice for me to explore what those details are for myself
Mm-hmm.
through conversation, and also
Yeah.
to like have someone else explain what those details are. But like if they don't feel like
Yeah.
doing the work, and they just are like, well, I said what I said because I said it,
Right.
then it's like, oh, so you really don't, are you not there? Like, do you not exist?
Yeah. Right.
Or do you
Well,
just not care?
right, exactly. And that's like exactly how it was like with my mom. Like sometimes I'd ask her, like, why did you have that tone, like why did you act so sorry, I'm like got word vomit. Why did you act that way? Why did you react that way to me? Or like why did you say that in that tone of voice? Because it felt like, you were upset with me, like, because my mom would sometimes be like, I'm not even angry, but like her tone of voice came off as very angry. And yes, I completely relate. Like I have to know like why things are the way they are. Why are things said the way they are? Why are things worded the way they are? Because it, like, I feel like, like we, as humans, I feel like, because we've kind of created language,
Mm-hmm.
like we've weave this web that we live in. Like we're like spiders that we weave this web of meaning
Hmm.
to make sense of what the world is. And so I feel like almost as if like having meaningful things, or like going about things in a very meaningful way, feels the most human that you can get. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
the most humanly experiences you can have are the ones where you are feeling like, you know feeling intensely about something. It
Mm.
feels very real, like, at least in my experience, because I feel like when I'm not having a meaningful experience, it just feels like I'm just there, like it's like, and like with my past relationship, like we never did anything meaningful, and so it felt like I was just sitting there. Like I felt like I was just like wanting to have these meaningful experiences,
Mm-hmm.
but since they weren't happening, like we wouldn't even go anywhere, because like he didn't want to go anywhere with me. It felt like, okay, well, this relationship doesn't feel very meaningful. Like I almost felt single for like 6 to 8 months of the whole relationship because we weren't having meaningful experiences.
Mm.
And yeah, I just felt like it was careless, you know.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And there's this interesting thing that leads me to think about of like, um, I often will posit instinctual and analytical ways of being as kind of like opposites, right? So,
Mhm.
in the context of this conversation, it's interesting because emotion fits in there somehow, and like there's like this instinctual way of being that's like that I like have to work to get into, but then
Mhm.
creates this like really rich experience for me when I can
Yeah.
feel like completely flow state and like being
Yeah.
with people and super open, but
Yeah.
and like that's an emotional experience, and and then sometimes like stuff happens there that comes out that like I don't have rationale for, which is interesting because
Mhm.
then we have this like analytical experience of things that um like there's this desire for me to like understand everything as well and understand like
Mhm.
reasonings, but they create this interesting tension because like
Yeah.
we're looking for these experiences that are like emotional but also like super rational, uh,
Yeah.
and that's like
Yeah.
that's even like more ideal. um,
Mhm.
yeah, and Chris Griffin in the chat says it's crazy that stories like yours are heard all over and that kids all over feel this way without anyone knowing. And why would he want to stay in a relationship like that? Like, I don't see his
Mhm.
motive. You know, and
Mhm.
that's also this interesting way that people get paired together, kind of like what we were talking about. Is that like
Mhm.
you're looking for these rich emotional experiences,
Yeah.
and then like, you know, you're the way that turned out with him is it fell flat, but like somehow that was still like motivating, or maybe just like this inertia of like simplicity, or this like inertia of comfort
Mhm.
of you know, like if you look at that relationship of never wanting to do anything, never wanting to experience change, then like
Mhm.
definitely wouldn't want to experience change inside the relationship, like
Mhm.
wouldn't want that to end, but that did not, you know, suit you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like because I wasn't getting this I wasn't getting the rich emotional experiences I was wanting to. I felt like I was almost just staying in the relationship because I wanted to have that experience so bad and I thought I was going to get those. Maybe if I had waited patiently or
Mm.
like, but something that had struck me was that I don't need to wait on someone. If our wants and needs are not aligning, that's just the way it is, and it is what it is. And
Mm.
if I can find someone who is wanting to share those, rich emotional experiences with me, and they're open for change and they're open to adapt, and because I feel like another very human experience is always learning and always educating yourself on
Mm.
things. And so like because like as like the world goes around, like there's always evolution is always happening. Could be very slow, but it's happening still, and I feel like as humans, like we need to educate ourselves so that way we can evolve too you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, and I think that to kind of like tie this together in the way that I'm seeing
Mhm.
it is that like, yeah, we are kind of having like talk about feelings art brunch, and maybe some people are
Mhm.
curious about how this interacts with your artwork, or like how
Mhm.
does it fit in like a contemporary art setting. But I think that you're
Mhm.
putting it really well there, is that like first of all, I think of artists as um, people who inhabit gray areas in society,
Mhm.
people who like clean up after other people, or people who
Mhm.
like find new ways to communicate. And I
Mhm.
think with your work and just like the personal work that you're doing, they're so intertwined. And I think it's like so necessary for art to
Mhm.
really intertwine the self. And like what you're looking to do and what you are doing is being really open and about your experience. You're not hiding that experience. You're making work
Not
from that
anymore.
experience. Yeah,
Yes.
right? You're making work
Mhm.
from that
Yeah.
experience, And then like at its best, what it's doing
Mhm.
is um, a another one of those landmarks, another one of those like points of reference that we can
Mhm.
find in our daily lives, as to be like,
Yeah.
like my room gets messy sometimes, but I'll think of you. Like, like
Mhm.
when I'm feeling down about that, I can think of
Mhm.
you and say like, "Oh, Allie's room was messy." And then like she still made work, right?
Yeah.
Like still
Yeah.
approached it,
Mhm.
still worked through it. And like this is I think that the the contemporary predicament is like we need to be more emotionally fluent. I think men
Mhm.
especially need to do a
Mhm.
lot of work to
Yeah.
like get in touch with their feelings because we weren't taught how to do it, and like talk to me,
Yeah.
ask me questions. Like I've been really trying,
Yeah.
for men or whatever,
Mhm.
and it's like
Yeah.
it's so necessary to get on top of it. It's so like the closer that you get to the surface, like the more that you can recognize the emotions that are
Yeah.
coming up when they're coming up, the better that you can be with other people. Because
Right.
if you can't notice the emotions that are taking place and you don't understand them, then they build and build and build into a
Yeah.
reaction that you can't understand why you did this thing or where it came from. And that's like such a scary feeling to
Mhm.
react and not know like why you're acting the way that you're acting.
Yeah.
But it's also really hard and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. And the thing is, there are a lot of people that like they still have those reactions, and they're so scared to deal with them that they just won't, and they will refuse to, and you know they're never going to be open for change. And that's not for everyone, but I do know people that
Hmm.
are like that. And it's unfortunate because you want everyone to be happy, and you want yourself to be happy, and sometimes it's hard to like, I don't know how to explain it, but like it's just like I wish the best for some people, but if they are not treating me the way I wanted to be treated, and it's because they um are reacting to, like they don't know how to react because they have their own trauma built on, and it's suppressed, and it's coming out as like either like anger or something.
Mm.
It's hard for me to still be in contact with those people, because it's like I want the best for you, but I also need to set boundaries for myself, and this is not healthy,
Yeah, but
you know?
I extra want the best for myself. Like I want the best for you, but I hella want the best for myself. So.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think it's like so important, like to be empathetic to others. Like I
Hmm.
genuinely want the best for like everyone in my life. But like if there are people who I need to set boundaries with, that it's just because I want the best. Yeah, I hella want the best for myself. So
Yeah.
if I can, if I, I think boundaries are very necessary. That's something like I struggled with my parents. Like my mom, like she almost had like no boundaries with me. Like she'd feel like she can say whatever she want to me. If it hurts my feelings, that's fine. I'm just she's good at crying or something.
Mm.
Or like even just simple boundaries. Like sometimes I'd be in the bathroom and she would just like barge in the door without knocking, and it's like that makes me feel uncomfortable, and I've expressed that to her, but it's like no, literally no boundaries. And so like
Wow.
when I moved out, like even when I moved out, I feel like my relationship with my parents got significantly better. Like there's just space between us. Like now we have this boundary of like privacy
Hmm.
that I much needed, because I feel like I like to be open, but I also like there are things I still like to be private about, or very like independent about. Like,
Hmm.
so moving out was definitely necessary for
Cool. Yeah, and let's zoom back out here.
me.
We were having such a great conversation. We just skipped our
Yeah.
second break, and that's great
Oh,
because I think like what we were talking about is super important, and we can keep going here. But I just want to let everybody know
mhm.
that they're watching the Travel Agency, and this is Art Brunch episode 8 with Aly Camacho. If you're enjoying the stream, if you've been liking it, or if you're just feeling generous, you can leave us a follow, and if you have an Amazon Prime account, something really cool you can do is you can link your Twitch to Amazon Prime, and then you can subscribe to us through Amazon Prime. It's called a Prime sub, and we get money, and you don't have to pay anything. Usually it's $5 for a subscription, but if you link your Amazon account, it's $0, and we get money. So we're gonna keep talking here, but I did want to zoom out uh, again. Like, so there's all of
Mm-hmm.
this stuff that's taking place, and then I guess I'm curious about, like, is the is this healing, this self work, this emotional work, is this going to continue to be a part of your practice moving forward? Is this something that you're really interested in moving forward with your photography or with your installation work?
I think there's yes, this is definitely like going to be like a continuing project, and I don't know for how long because sometimes you might feel like a work is finished, but then you go back to it years later, or and it's like, oh, I can reuse this. But the thing is,
1 second. Chris Griffin with the
oh, that's
sub.
okay.
Thank you for subscribing. Welcome. You are now traveling with us. I
Woo!
think you're a travel agent now, is what we call you. You get your tier 1
Ooh,
emotes. Welcome to the team. It really
official
helps us.
tier.
It supports artists. So thank you for that. But yeah, you were talking about. Sorry to interrupt you there.
No, that's okay. Could you repeat the question one more time if
Oh
that's
yeah.
okay?
So the question is, how do you see this emotional health, this emotional healing aspect of your work continuing into your photography or your installation
Mm-hmm.
work? Do you see that being like a big part of your uh,
Mm-hmm.
of your practice moving forward?
Yeah. I think that there's, for me, because of all of this, like I've come to the realization that there's always room for self improvement and what was it? There's always room for self improvement, and me being a hoarder is not going to be cleaned up in a day. Like when I made my installation piece for the group exhibition, like it helped me go through and get rid of like a lot of trash, like literal garbage that I was leaving in my car, dirty plates and all that, like I mean, I'm more of a clothing hoarder, but I did have some really gross things in my car or
Hmm.
like, things that are old that like should be just thrown away.
Hmm.
And I mean, I understand, like, yeah, I'm keeping this old Taco Bell bag in my car and it needs to be thrown away, but for some reason I'm not. Like it would just be like I don't even know, but the thing is like I still do these things. I still like I hold like receipts for like months on end and just I don't need them anymore, but I'm keeping them. So I think like taking these things that I notice that can still be like salvageable. Like I'm not gonna like obviously like put old food. I mean, I've heard some people do this before, but
Yeah,
I'm
you
not gonna
could.
put like my old expired food and then like an installation or like a gallery space because that's just not something I want.
Hmm.
But I mean, keeping these old receipts that, show like how much money was I spending on all of these things that was not healthy for me or like, you know, maybe there's like old orange peels that or something, or old orange peels. My mom would always like that's like something that's on the cover and stuff like of the book, but my mom would always like be like, here, take some fruit, like take something with you to like nourish yourself, blah blah blah. And like because like my mom, I don't know, yeah, like she was, she did care about me and she wanted me, like she just like expressed it through her own ways, but like like providing food at least was something that she was always adamant about. And so like I kind of had these old orange peels that I had scanned for that. But the thing, going back to like the question, is like I'm still in a process. Even
Hmm.
I just moved. I am not done. I literally like have trash bags on the floor,
Hmm.
like I'm still working on this and I'm still documenting like like my life because I do want to like when I'm older, like I want to see like how my life has progressed from
Hmm.
like where I was to like where I'm going to be. And so like continuing this documentation and continuing to, you know, take all of these things that I'm saving and ask myself why am I saving these? It's like something that I'm using for myself as a way of self-improvement. And if I can and like to just express myself in general, because again, like I still like, I mean, I'm more comfortable going to a therapist now, but like I was really scared of the idea just because I was worried that like if I go to a therapist, what if I have like, those methods that like you have to like really remember like what happened to you when
Mm.
like as a kid that you had really suppressed. So but I think I'd be more open to going to a therapist now, but like my way right now still is just expressing myself through my art and
Yeah.
like having these conversations with people who I feel are my family, even though they are actually my friends,
Mm.
and they're my safe spaces. And I am so grateful because I know it is not their job to do that, but the fact that they are there for me means the world.
Yeah.
So, but yes, it's gonna be definitely like a continuing thing, and like I hope like one day what would be really cool is like to just have a whole gallery exhibition of just work about my journey of hoarding and my journey of healing,
Mm. Yeah.
and just things I've gone through. So,
Yeah. I'll go. I'll be there for sure.
oh, thank you. That means a lot.
For those of you in the chat right now, if you have any questions that you want to ask Aly, feel free to drop them in the chat over the next few minutes. We're going to keep talking here, but we would love to. I'd love to have an opportunity for you all to ask questions, and then I can relay those questions to Aly. So is the goal like, uh, to use this work to heal, or it's like something that's interesting is like, is there a like, it doesn't even necessarily have to be like something you get rid of, like the hoarding thing, right? Like, is it something
Hmm.
that you're thinking about like exiling from your personality, or is it something that you just like learning to live with, learning to have a relationship with, learning, like, because sometimes it might even feel like too much to say like, at some point I hope to be rid of this. um,
Mm.
it's not necessarily that way.
I don't think it's necessarily that way. I think I definitely am learning just more so to live with it, because I do acknowledge that there are going to be certain behaviors of why I hoard that. Like my goal really is to just become a little bit more organized. And
Mm.
like, even if I don't get rid of a lot of things, what ways can I organize them so it's not in like a mess? Like I normally like for a long long time I would not mess with a lot of piles of things in my room because I'd be like, oh, that pile, I know everything that's in there. But then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I will move things and forget I move things. And so when I go through that pile, I'm having like a panic attack every time, like, or like I still have panic attacks when I lose something because I've gone through so many experiences of me losing something in my mess, and then I have to go through every single thing.
Hmm.
And it's like not healthy for me. I still think that that's always going to happen. Like I still have times where I'm like, I lose my wallet or I lose my phone, and I'm like, it's like a whole thing. It's like, oh my god, I have to like I'm freaking out, having a panic attack. And sometimes like my friends will try to offer to help me, but it's the thing is like they don't know what's in my piles, and I normally do. So I try to
Mm.
tackle everything on by myself.
I see.
And um yeah.
Yeah, and that would make it. Yeah, I mean, there are certain like elements that do negatively impact your life, but I think
Mhm.
it's also good just to
Yeah.
like clarify that,
Yeah.
that like it's not just like black or white. Like, one day I'm going to be
Mhm.
healed. Like, one day
Mhm. Right.
I'm looking forward to the show where I like put my foot down and say like, I don't
Yeah.
keep anything I don't need anymore ever. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think like even then, like, because there's things I've literally already gotten rid of that were in the actual, group exhibition, or
Yeah.
like things I scanned for the zines, or like things might even be damaged that I had for that. But
Mm.
the thing is, I know because I'm a hoarder, and it's not going to be like gone within like a day or so. Like it's just going to be a process, and the cycle of continuing work and continuing documenting is always going to be there. So there's just room always for like new possibilities for new projects, or and it's nice because yeah, like if I do get rid of things, like with photography, what I enjoy about it is like you see it in that one moment. Like it's like it's there. I can take a picture of it and then I can throw it away now.
Hmm.
Like for a lot of things, not everything, but like a lot of things, like my receipts that I had used for that. I don't know where all of those are, but the thing is like I documented it already. Now I can get rid of it,
Mm.
and but yeah, there's things I'm always going to keep because I have sentimental feelings. But there are things that I know I need to say, I have sentimental feelings towards these. Why can I now get rid of them? Am I feeling comfortable enough to get rid of them now?
Hmm.
You know, or yeah, I don't know.
No, I understand it. It totally makes sense
Mhm,
to me. I think um,
mhm,
I grew up in a a house of hoarders too. So, or
mhm,
maybe not two. That's presumptuous,
mhm,
but um,
mhm.
there are people in my family who have a real big problem with that,
Yeah.
and it's like there are so many different elements that go into that decision whether to keep something
Mhm.
or to move something, and then having like a heightened um,
Yeah.
heightened anxiety around that. Uh, it's like it's got to tick
Mhm.
off 8 of 10 boxes to even be
Yeah.
considered. Um,
Well, mhm.
but I think that's, I
And
mean,
even
something
oh,
great to explore with the work, because I mean it's like it
yeah.
is a contemporary problem. Like you can label this work, the hoarding work, but I mean it is, there are like so many levels to it, right? It's like a contemporary problem
Right.
with like the world of things, or like the Internet of Things, or just like
Yeah.
my you know my folders and desktops on my computer, like, is that clinical? The 50,000
Yeah.
emails that I have, like all these different like ways of modulating and managing like the data, or just like the
Yeah.
objects in our lives.
And kind of just like as you were talking, there was something that like I was just like, oh my god, like that's something I researched actually, and I was just like, it, I bulb in my brain was like, whoa. But like, and the thing is like, yeah, there's like so many also just like different categories as far as like there's people who are just messy, and it's like there's stuff, but it's not like out of control, and it's not affecting like the people around you.
Hmm.
And then there's people who are extreme collectors, and that's when you have all of these things, but they're organized in a way that it's um like I don't know, it's more of a documentary display,
Hmm.
or I guess yeah, it's like more of a documentary display, and it's organized. And normally a lot of extreme collectors are not like hoarders. Hoarders are like their own category,
Hmm.
and normally, not all the time, but normally it's because of traumatic experiences, and it it affects the people around you. Like I mean, at my house, my parents' house, I only had maybe 4 or 5 people ever come to my parents' house in my life.
Hmm.
Like, for real. Like, I've only had, like, when I was like maybe middle school up, like, that's only had 5 people ever come over
Hmm.
within that time to me being an adult. And it was because I was embarrassed about my room. My mom was embarrassed about my room. She never wanted people to come over because she felt ashamed about my room. And I also didn't know what to do because I didn't want to clean it. So I said to myself, I'll just hang out with other people, but not at my house.
Hmm.
Like that was always the thing for me. And, and, um, but yeah, so I did that research about like how like there's different groups, and there's also things, there's like a group of people called, they're like squalors. I kind of forgetting a little bit because it's been a while since I did do this research, like some months. And so but the thing is like there's these like different categories of being messy or having accruing a lot of things. And I think normally with squalors, I think it's just normally old people who like have attained these things, and um, it's not generally like stemming from trauma. It's just more
Mm.
so like they have all these things and they physically can't get rid of it
Oh, I
because
see.
they're too old or have something that disables them from getting rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
rather than like hoarders. There's also this thing called, it's a concept called, I think it's called like super inclusion. When when so many hoarders have this thing, this thought process, which I experience in my brain, that I can't group things together. Things like when I go through like a big pile of things, I have to look at everything individually. And like what happens with my brain is that I say, oh, this I can't put this with my other hair ties because this is special. This has to be put somewhere that is not with the other one, so I
Mm.
can't organize because this is so special and it's so unique apart from the other ones. I can't group them together, therefore things just become a big mess.
Mm.
And that is something I'm working on, is starting to group things together that can be grouped together more, because that is something like sometimes I'll see like a clothing item and I'm like, I can't put this in my closet because I want to see it because it's so special, and I need, it needs to be somewhere where I can see it. So I'm just going to put it on the floor because I'm going to see it there.
Mm.
So I have this thought process in my brain. I just literally cannot group things together,
Yeah.
and it's generally a typical um, thing that happens with hoarders.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just wanted to share that because it's like something I researched, and I was like I have never really like done so much research on like an art project
Mm-hmm.
besides this one. So this is like the most I've ever done like research for, and like really felt passionate because I experience it myself.
And Chris Griffin says, I mean, that is a nice hair tie. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
uh,
Oh my
but
gosh.
but yeah, no, I mean, and then I mean, I'm so happy that you shared that. 2 weeks ago, we had DJ Mixris, who's also in the chat right now. We had Marissa Dimkowski on Art Brunch, and we were talking about artist as researcher, and like
Mhm.
the artist's role in researching work, um, that like that the artist can also be this accumulator of information and this like disseminator of information that's like unique and non
Yeah.
like it can be academic but in like a non-specified realm, right? So like
Hmm.
even being able to display, and this is getting kind of in the weeds, but being able to
Hmm.
like visually display the work that you're doing, as far as sorting goes, which is something that's like very
Hmm.
common in installation art. That like
Hmm.
artist as researcher can, like you have this opportunity that goes far beyond what I'm referencing, but to take the research that you have and then use that as influence in the work, and then have
Hmm.
that work have uh, impact in one way or another
Yeah.
on a viewer, and then
Hmm.
like that's occupying this like quasi academic non-specific role that like no one else can do except the artist, right? Like that's one of the
Hmm.
the beautiful spaces that an artist can inhabit.
Yeah. And also just kind of going off of that, like it kind of reminds me of how like we had brought up earlier about how, like needing to have these intellectual and analytical like reasons, like we need to have this
Mm.
rational reasoning but also combine it with that rich emotional response.
Mm.
So I don't know, as you were talking it reminded me of how we kind of brought that up too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean
Hmm.
that makes, yeah, you nailed it.
Hmm.
Well, I just have a couple of questions that I like to leave off with. We're not going to do all 10 today, because I
Hmm.
think we've covered a lot of really good stuff.
Hmm.
But there are a few specific things that I'm really interested in having you share. Um, the first thing is what what is the most memorable response that you've gotten to your work?
um I This is so hard because I've had a lot of very memorable responses.
That's good. It's a
I
really good
think,
problem to have.
yeah, yes. I think, well, and a lot of it happened that same night of the opening exhibition.
Hmm.
I had um, many of my friends come up to me, and I had seen, like, I remember specifically seeing Nispeta and I think Rebecca reading um, my reading reading my reasons for hoarding book, and I had noticed they were just sitting there and crying. You
Mm.
know, they had this very strong emotional reaction to it, and came to talk to me afterwards, and we like cried together. And also same with like my really good friend Lauren Lennox. She was like a huge supporter of me trying to like, she would like basically like help me understand more about like what it means to have personal growth, and like how can we explore ourselves further, how can we improve ourselves so that way we can have better relationships with the people around us. And she also came to the exhibition that night, and that was really the first time she had ever seen like my artwork, you know, out somewhere. And she also just cried to me, and we just cried together. And so I would say those are the three most memorable like experiences I've had to seeing my work on display,
Mm.
I guess, or you know, just in general. Like I think, yeah. I mean, and of course like just seeing Nermina come to the exhibition, I that like meant insanely like the world to me, because it's like again like not having that like actual like blood family related support,
Mm-hmm.
all of this support from my friends, you know, like Miss Veta, Rebecca, Nermina, and Lauren, like it just like made me feel like you know like the most support ever. I would just truly felt grateful
Mm.
to just have them see the work.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll come right back to that. Yeah, so you guys thinking about watching the previous episodes, you can check out our link tree. We have a link to our YouTube there. Those previous episodes will be going up there eventually when I get around to it, when I can muster up the energy to edit my own videos. Um, but yeah, back to what we were talking about. That leads me perfectly into the other question that I'm like want to uh, ask you, for people who are watching this and like love what you're doing, because there are those people, you know, people like what you're doing. What are the best ways that people can support you or support your work?
Um, ooh, this is this is something I always struggle with because I've never really known how to ask for support, because I'm always you know, and that's just me as a person. I'm always doing things all the time by myself. But I'm trying to get into the process of getting more prints out. I was originally really wanting to sell copies of this book, but it's a little bit hard now since I don't have studio access. And when I was wanting to make a whole bunch of copies of this when I was going to school, I couldn't because or the school had shut down, so I didn't have studio access. So I think just letting me know that, I think the best way someone can support me is by letting me know that what they're wanting, like whether they're wanting a copy of the book or a print or some, you know, something like just to communicate with me, so that
Mm.
way like we can have a discussion and we can figure things out, like oh, what would you prefer, like what would the best way like you would like to support me, like what is what you're wanting, how can I get that for you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think like just communicating with me, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have the links
Mm-hmm.
in the chat here for you for
Mm-hmm.
your Instagram and Twitter at
Mm-hmm.
and your website there, so people can get in touch with you there. Um, but like I say, I mean, I end up saying this like every week. Like we didn't know each other
Mm-hmm.
before all of this. Oh, Leech in the chat. We've got a rogue. We got a rogue Jake Leech hopping in the chat.
Yay!
Um, yeah, we end up kind of like talking about this every week,
Mm-hmm.
but like I don't think we can talk about it enough. Is that like you and I didn't know each other prior to this
Mm-hmm.
experience. Um,
Yeah.
but like just reaching out and having a conversation about like the project that I'm doing, which is the travel agency and Art Brunch. And then we were
Yeah.
just able to like spend some time getting to know each other and getting to know the work that each other are doing, and like you were really easy to talk to. So so
Yeah.
people who are like interested
Thank
in getting something from you or doing work or asking you to like photograph them ollieing a 12 stair or something,
you.
which would be sick. Um, but uh, but yeah, so like you know, it it does really just take like opening up a dialogue and beginning that conversation,
Mhm.
and you're super nice, so people should do that.
Well,
Leach says worlds colliding, best people coming together, and Nakona says all the best, all the past people.
aw.
We got a nice
Yeah.
crew of
Yeah.
past brunchers and future brunchers probably.
Mhm.
um, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I wanted to say thank you like so much for like having me on here. Um and also just like I don't know, it's so nice to be able to have this like very casual yet personal like like relationship, and now we can, like now we can be friends, and like we have like all these connections, and like I don't know like how to I don't know what I'm saying, but like just basically like it's cool that like we've gotten to know each other from this experience,
Hmm.
because we didn't know each other before, and now we have this very like personal like experience, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. No, I agree. I
Mhm.
agree, and
So I just wanted to say thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. It's like this is something that I want to do, but it's
Mhm.
something that I can't do if other people don't want to do. So
Right.
it's this mutual respect, and we get to learn
Hmm.
and grow, and um, I'd love to have you on again in the future. Uh,
Yeah, I love that.
Chris Griffin says, "Man, the people you meet on planes." I think it's like it is also kind of. I was thinking about getting like a green screen. I love having Vaughn's work behind me,
Yeah.
but because like I love him, but also it would be fun to get a little like circular green screen and have it just be
Hmm.
like, or have it shaped like a airplane window, and
You know
then
what you could
put a
do?
little video behind it.
You you could just set up like a kind of like either like you can get like a C stand, and then like a I don't I'm forgetting the name of it. I studied this and I don't even know. I'm forgetting. But you can basically get a C stand, and then you can get this like this bar that like clips to the C stand,
Okay.
and you can get like just like clamps, and
Yeah.
you can hold the sheet onto that. So that way you don't have to like move Bond's piece, but
Oh
also you
yeah.
can like put something in between that, and
Oh
it'll
cool.
be like you can just, put it up, take it down,
I should do that, and then we'll have like
Yeah.
it'll just look like an airplane
Yes,
window or
I
something.
would love to see that.
Okay, cool. We're coming up on the end here. Is there anything else that you want to share with people before we go?
Um, I'm not. This is always hard.
You don't
I'm
have
just
to.
like thank you. Okay, I well maybe I'll just say one thing. I just want to say thank you to like anyone who tuned in, or even if they didn't get to tune in and they're watching this after it's live. I just want to say thank you for spending time watching this and spending time with my work. It means so much to me when people actually do spend time with the work, because that way they can either like relate or they can learn something. And yeah, I don't know, it just means the world when people spend time with that, because I
Yeah.
feel like they're spending time with me, so
Sweet.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I feel the same. Yeah, Nakona says thanks y'all. Been great to listen. Yeah, thank you. Thanks
Thank
to everyone
you.
who's tuning in. It was a really great day. All the interaction in the chat. Definitely follow the links that we have there. If you're interested in being a part of the travel agency, we're definitely looking for more collaborators for Art Brunch and projects beyond. This week might actually be the week that I start my new project. of building a model car on stream, which is something I've always wanted to do, and I've been talking about it for 3 weeks now, and I haven't done it. But I'm gonna start one of these days because it's something I've
You
always
got
wanted to
it.
do my whole life. And
Yeah.
I'm also streaming myself playing the most ridiculously difficult game called Spelunky, Spelunky 2.
Ooh.
So I'll be streaming that this week. And
Ooh.
yeah, thanks again to Aly. Thanks to everybody out there. We are eternally grateful. We love you. We'll see you again next week.